Hello, I'm MC2, worst rapper in the world. Tonight we've got a discussion on Earth and with the Plain Truth. How you doing, Mr. Plain Truth? Can you hear me?
Are you waiting for me?
Oh yeah. All right. So people aren't they're hearing an echo.
Let's try that again. Try that again. Do that again.
All right. How you doing, Mr. Plain Truth?
Hello. What ho?
Oh, nice. All right. So they're saying they are hearing echo from me. So, all right. Let me look what I hear.
Yeah, take your time, man.
Yeah. So, how's the echo now? The echo, they're saying it was bad. So weird. It's like the same as every week. Of course, it's different. And you hear it too. Okay. So all right. Well, that sucks. Now Brainy Beaver took about an hour to get his stream going, so maybe we can do better than that. I'll see what I can do. Still echo on me. That's maybe pressing. So all right. Working on the echo. Speakers. So if I send that to just there. No. See, I'm not hearing anything. Is there echo?
Yep.
No, I don't hear you, Travis.
I am here. I am here. Check. I am here. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 4, 5, 6.
You can't hear me at all.
I can hear you.
Oh my goodness. Still, see now my sound bars are saying that it's there. You can hear Travis, but not me. Can't hear Travis, so needs a reset.
Well, this is going to be an easy discussion. So, like I was saying, the Earth is not a spinning globe; it's stationary.
All right,
yada yada yada.
There, I can hear you now again, Travis, but not.
Okay.
Am I still echoing?
Yes, sir.
Dang, what is going on with that?
You know, when you talk lower, it seems not to be there.
Should I do like Earth is seriously flat?
Just wow! I just got the shivers. I got the shivers.
Not. It's a week. I've done this like over and over.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. I see Jose Menza in the chat.
Jose, shout out to Jose.
Let me try this. All right. So I changed what I'm listening on. Does that, am I still echoing to you, Travis?
Yes, sir. Yep.
That's weird. Why would that happen? So I'm going to replug my microphone. Sorry, Paul. The unprofessionalism is...
Yeah, that was worse.
How I roll. All right, I rebooted my microphone. That make any change? Ooh, it still says. All right, there we go. Travis, can you hear me? Oh, still echo.
Yeah, I can, but you're still off.
Oh, look at this. How's that?
Oh, that was too short. So.
And so I changed the microphone.
Nope.
Green Bullion's in the chat. He wants to know the radius. Maybe people help him.
Shout out to Morfeld.
Who's that?
He's in the chat.
Well, make sure the mic is off the computer, says Duck in Florida. I don't know if my computer has a microphone. James Collins says, I'm on I got a Mac Mini.
Oh, I don't know about that.
No, they won't hear you.
Yeah, I would wonder if you're feeding back in through something that you've got on your end.
All right. So, am I still echoing?
That was a bit of a breaking up, but I would think that that's still the issue.
Yeah. I'm at a loss at this point. There's nothing that I understand about this that's different last week. Still staggering, you're saying.
Yep.
Interesting. Desktop, sound, flower, microphone, speaker, yeah. Weird. Furball. I'm coming in chopped without the screw. Says Ancito. DKG Custom says must be Aether band. That could be. What
Could
is
very
the,
well be.
Yeah, the Aether band.
It's making itself known. It's saying, hello, people, wake up, I'm here.
Yep. Advanced properties, there's only so much. Mic aux. Desktop audio. Yeah, interesting. Every words partially repeat like they this said. Reminds me of Max Headroom. Very good. Reference.
Yeah, totally Max.
That is weird. that's probably a lower issue than the streaming thing. Yeah. Like the audio system needs to be restarted, but you can't. Yeah, I gotta reboot. So if I reboot, will it the stream? Who knows? Tell you what, I'm gonna give it a try. If it doesn't, it drops the stream. Just start up a new one. So, all right, Bull. We'll be back. So, I don't know if you can hear me or not, if I'm live or not, but I did just tell it to start streaming again. We'll see how that goes while I set up a couple things that got messed up in the reboot. Sorry about that, everybody. But things happen. So, let's see. There we go.
Sorry, I don't know that.
Thanks. Seems I'm back. Got a few things to fix still, though. So hold on a second. Yeah, so how do I sound first? Am I echoing? That's the first question. Then I gotta get the meeting back. Oh, he's in the meeting. There we go. So,
Did you get it working?
Let's see. My audio is not set up where it was before, so I can't hear you if you're talking. Just a second. Gotta change things a little bit. Settings. Microphone there. There.
Sounds good.
And Mac Mini speakers. There, I hear you. Do you hear me?
And I hear you. I do, and there's no issue so far.
Well, good. Seems like the reboot did something. I got a little... There we go. My my Bluetooth microphone thing, which I made forego, was stuck in my ear. The little rubbery nub. All right, people at home. How is it going for you? Let me see here. Let me get pop up the chat. There's that. Cheers, MC Toon. Last drink of Jack tonight from Nicholas Kincaid. Well, good for that. Let's see. And
He didn't tell you that it was like 7 fingers deep, though.
Yeah. My Dropbox folder is missing, so hold on. Now everything is connected to that. So like, if you see the perimeter is black. So the background is on my my drive. And my microphone, or sorry, my keyboard is plugged in, which is working. Is plugged into the same USB hub. So I'll reboot my hard drive. Man. Yeah, so Brainy Beaver's going at the same time here. The black border is the fabled Aether band. It could be all heavy metal bands have to have black as their color. There it is. The drive showed up. It's clicking away. So I think we are kind of going now. except for, oh, I missed my, I have a browser window always for displaying stuff, so I'll get that, and that got dropped in the reboot. All right, how about this, Mr. Plain Truth? Now that we're up,
you can just call me Travis.
Travis, yeah, sorry. 21 minutes later, Travis. Why don't you? I know a lot of people know who you are, but a few maybe don't. So why don't you introduce yourself, and I will do a couple more clickies here.
All right, my name is Travis Finley, and my YouTube channel for Flat Earth is called The Plain Truth, the PLANE Truth, and I've been active on it probably since early, maybe late 2017, early 2018. Have been heavy duty in making observations with the P900 and now a Nikon D300 with a 600 millimeter lens. Have every once in a while done some streams with the likes of Toady UK, Tim Osman, and just today did one with Miles Davis. Have one in the works to be done with the Rumpus. So pretty active in the community. I'm over at Jose JG's a lot, and so I'm a truck driver. Been driving since 2006.
And you're in your truck right now?
And I'm coming to that. Yeah, and I'm coming to that spot where I am going to drop. So now it's going to be my turn to be the loser. I mean, it's going to be my turn to give you a technical difficulty. So it might be about a 2 to 3 minute. As soon as you hear me drop off, and I'm going to keep talking right now so that you'll know when I'm gone, because then you won't.
And there he went. Wow, he knows the road. He just cut out. So we have, wow, we got 60 people watching right now. Thank you very much, everybody. While he's out, I'll just say thanks, everybody, for joining. I have a Discord server. The description is, the link is in the description. If you're interested, I do have a Patreon. Thank you to all my current patrons. They're scrolling across the bottom of the screen. And let's see, have a good Halloween, be safe, and make sure you don't eat the razors in your candy. So Green Bullion, who is also 33UC, here's to you. What was he saying? What's the diameter? The diameter is the distance across a circle or a sphere. Surprised you didn't know that, but that's okay. Saucy London, you very saucy person. Naughty. So yeah, Green Bullion. Why aren't you 33UC? It's a little confusing. And here's a little more to you. The mason. It's not a mason jar. It's a ball jar. Quit checking out my balls. And this jar was not free. I bought it at Menards to make pickles, and I made pickles in it. And now it's what I drink water out of. So, I see myself twice because the Plain Truth dropped. So, Menards, MEN, yes, BM Furball. I go to Menards, which is the local hardware store, more than Home Depot or Lowe's. I almost never get to Lowe's. So, yeah, there are two MCs, MC2N, I guess. Oh, Green Bullion. Yeah, we saw the movie trailer. You're so boring. So, all right. Looks like we're back.
All right.
We get the honk again. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Yep. So we should be out of the woods.
Good. I'm gonna adjust your thing here. It's just you, since we don't see your face. It's just the Mona Lisa. So we're gonna zoom in a little bit on that a little differently. But all right. We are having today a discussion, not a debate. Just a little different, maybe, tone to the conversation. Right? You had said kind of liked how I did it with Gleam. So I had a good talk with Gleam.
Yeah, I thought you guys did a great job. Yeah.
Yeah.
Both sides.
So, what do we got? We got the Earth as a sphere, is what I say, and you say.
No way! Are you crazy?
Sometimes I'm crazy. I don't think I am on this one. So, would you like to start with? Do you have like positive proof or evidence?
Yeah, I can start off with that. When I was first coming into Flat Earth and listening to material that was available, one of the things that I thought through on my own was that this issue is very simple. This issue is very logical. This issue is very empirical. I personally don't ever address NASA or any of the issues that are involved in that discussion. I think that those are secondary and tertiary issues. I think the fundamental physics that we can deal with on the grassroots, on the ground level, is really where we need to begin our conversation. And so with that, two of the primary positives is that water, of course, finds its level. And a corollary to that is that the shoreline on all of the land masses is at the same elevation in terms of the oceans, right? In the same way that, say, for instance, Lake Tahoe, I think, is 11 miles by 22 miles. And the shoreline of Lake Tahoe on all points is the same elevation, which shows us that water maintains its level nature in regards to the shoreline. So the same thing is then extrapolated out to the oceans. We should understand that bodies of water of that size are contained. And so the shoreline on the Pacific is at the same elevation as the shoreline on the Atlantic, is the same elevation as the Gulf, the same elevation as everywhere. And then the other one is, in terms of motion, the Earth is stationary.
All right. So when it comes to level, I don't disagree that it's not level. But level is, on the globe, the distance from the center. And so things that are different different elevations are not level. So everything that's the same elevation is the same level, and that is a curve. And that's not just me, that is surveyors. So here's a book from the 1700s. This is actually a picture, and I know you maybe can't see it, but I'll read it. Let's see, 1822 version of this, A Treatise on Practical Surveying. The book was prior to, and the link is in the chat there. The book was published in the 1700s. This is the version from 1822. It says, leveling is the art of ascertaining the perpendicular ascent or descent of one place or more above or below the horizontal level of another for various intentions, and of making out courses for the conveyance of water. The true level is a curve conforming to the surface of the earth, as in ABG, and in the image, it's the side view of a circle here. So ABG is an arc, and then the apparent level is a tangent to that curve as ADE. That's on page 317 of that book. So whether you go flat or sphere, level has a different meaning then. So there's no disagreement on it being level.
Well, sure. Then we have to discuss, right, the nature of level in terms of the model that that you go by in terms of the observations and measurements that I would go by if I were a surveyor. Again, I can discuss the issue. I'm not a surveyor, so I can't get into the technical data that might be more in terms of specific. What's interesting, and I'm sure that you know this too, that you have people that are on both sides who are surveyors or snipers or pilots. We've got people that seem to be claiming to be those things on both sides, and yet both sides say, yeah, we don't take the curve into account, and then the other side says, yeah, we take the curve into account. So I'm not really sure how productive that conversation can go. I will say this, though, that perpendicular, I think, is a good concept for us to think about, because every point, wherever you're at, MC, if you stand up right now, you're perpendicular, right?
Yeah.
I would be perpendicular, but not really in terms of our proximity to each other. We would be at an obtuse angle from each other in reality. Although, in our experience, we would experience a flat, level existence that is stationary. So the irony that I see in the discussion is that our world presents itself to us as stationary and in terms of a horizontal measurement level. And yet we have to reorient our thinking to say, well, but we're really spinning and we're really on a curved surface. But that's not our experience, right? You don't experience walking upside down if you were in Australia, or for that matter, even where we're at, because there is no up or down in space. I mean, I find it interesting that idea is that, we might think of, there's no reason really to think of Australia as beneath my feet. Rather, why aren't I beneath Australia? Right? Because that would be true.
Yeah, and
right?
To say Australia is arbitrarily the position that is down is I think when people do that, they're either really not understanding well, or they are just intentionally not understanding, trying to troll people.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Oh, the chat froze. So,
yeah, I've had trouble with the chat the past 2 days. My stream has frozen up on the chat.
Yeah,
I just let it go.
Yeah, I'll grab it. I'll grab one more time. So just give me a second. I'll see if I can fix it. There. It looks like it went. Yeah, it did something. I hear kids in the background here are having some disagreements. I think.
I do too. Yeah. Creepy.
Well, they'd be my kids. I have 33 kids, or at least that's how many I have, for the benefit of 33 UC.
Of course, it's 33.
Of course. So, all right. So let me get back on track. So yeah, level, and yeah, Australia is not upside down. If you're gonna go north is up, south is down, then the only people that are not sideways somehow would be the people at the North Pole, which is basically nobody, and the people that are upside down would be the people at the South Pole, down at the station there, which is a couple hundred people. So yeah, I appreciate that you recognize that, and I think that the people that don't are intentionally being trolls. That's my main guess when people do that.
If you think about it, though, they give them the benefit of the doubt, and they could just be thinking of looking at a globe, because a globe is oriented, even though it has its axial tilt. It is oriented in a way that where if you did see a landmass on the underside of the globe, then that would give you a visual representation of someone who is on a serious 170-degree angle.
Yeah.
So you might be right to a certain extent that there might be somebody out there that's being a troll, but someone who is just like remembering back to school, they'd be like, yeah, that kind of seems kind of weird. It wouldn't, And not only that, you have to remember that when Alice was tumbling down the rabbit hole, she was wondering if she was going to come out on the other side of the world where everyone is antipode to her.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's fine for a bit, but once it's been explained, I don't know. So,
well, yeah, but for me, again, the simplicity, the logic, the empiricism, we have to suspend. This is the way I try to put it. We have to suspend what we understand on a micro level, so that when it gets to the macro, all bets are off. And the way that I've termed this is that the heliocentric model, the globe model, is the great scale negator. That is, the scale of the Earth is so big that you cannot measure it easily or at all. And the scale of the Earth is so large that the spin is basically null. And the spin of the Earth, or the size of the Earth and whatnot, in terms of visually seeing the curve, it's so big. So, but the point is that when I think, let's say for instance, like me, I did not get into flat Earth through YouTube. I was introduced to flat Earth during the 2017 eclipse, when a friend of mine posted a flat Earth meme on Facebook with the horizontal box across the moon. If the Earth were flat, this is what an eclipse would look like.
yeah.
And and I chuckled to myself because it's a funny meme, right? It's funny, but I didn't give it a second thought as to representing the fact that there were people out there that thought the Earth was flat. So I didn't go investigating flat Earth at that point at all. I was listening to a sermon, and the pastor was either geocentric or he was flat Earth, and I can't remember which. But regardless of that, his geocentrism would have been stationary, and he went into an explanation of the physics behind Coriolis, or the physics behind leaving a rotating reference frame that is, flying from New York to LA. And as soon as he said that, I understood the simplicity of that explanation, and I was in. I was totally in. I was like, oh my God. But that totally makes sense.
Okay. But there's a lot of things about flat Earth that suddenly aren't simple.
Well, that might be true. That might be true, and we can maybe talk about those things. But again, I think the basic beginning point in terms of simplicity, logic, and empiricism is that we do not detect motion in terms of centrifugal force, right? You might
Correct.
be able to interpret the motion of the sky or the degrees of the sun, and you might be able to interpret that and impose that back on the Earth and say, well, therefore the Earth is a sphere. But in terms of our daily experience, we do not experience a spherical Earth that is rotating.
Yeah, but we can measure it. So let's surveying is a long-standing field that has the ability to measure measure curve, right? One of the ways that they can do that is through what they call spherical excess. Are you familiar with that? Travis, are you familiar with spherical excess? Or spherical triangles?
You echoed a little bit. Am I?
Yes, yeah, I hear. I think your connection's a little.
I mean, I can follow you if you want to explain something.
All right, so On the surface of a sphere, a triangle is different.
Yeah, I'm just going over a bridge. It'll clear up in a second.
Okay. So on a two-dimensional surface, a triangle has 180 degrees. And if the sides are 1, 1, and 1, what are the internal angles?
Oh, I heard this the other day. I don't remember.
Oh, come on. I thought you'd
No,
get
seriously.
it. Oh,
I don't remember.
60.
Okay.
All right. Well, the sum of the angles is always 180, so you can divide by 3 to get 60.
Right. Well, that was the number that was in my head, and I knew that wasn't right because of the answer that someone else mentioned the other day. But
yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, but on the surface of a sphere, a triangle has more than 180 degrees. It must, and it has less than 540 degrees. Exclusive, technically. So here I have on screen an example of one. And then what happens is whatever that number is, when you add up the angles of all the interior angles there, you get more than 180, and that amount more than 180 is called the spherical excess. And in surveying, that's a very well-tracked number. It's something that they are that they always measure for large surveying measurements. So
let me ask a question real quick,
Sure.
in case you can answer that. What you're describing is the interior of a sphere. Is that correct?
Interior or exterior is the same, actually, in this instance. So I don't see JMac in the chat here, but he would be excited to hear that, being a concaver.
Yeah. So I don't see the need to extend a triangular spherical measure from the surface of a sphere.
Well, then you cut out a little bit there. Can you say that again?
I don't understand or see the need to extend the geometric concept of spherical trigonometry from within a sphere to the exterior of a sphere, because you're going to be measuring the surface of the land, and you're going to, as far as I'm aware, I'm just going to be very, very basic, very redneck. I don't mind being a redneck. We're measuring the surface, so we're trying to find level on top of the surface of the Earth. To me, the interior spherical trigonometry of a triangle is irrelevant to measuring the top of the Earth.
The entire field of surveying would disagree with you. It's a critical part of what they do. Triangles is how surveying is done.
Well, I don't have a problem with triangles because we're dealing with tangents that are straight, not curved. The only way that you're going to get curvature is to impose a mathematical equation or a measurement based on a predetermined value, right? So here I'm going to say
no,
this.
I'm sorry. It is not predetermined. You go out, you measure a triangle, and you find that there's more than 180 degrees, we're on a sphere. If you find there's exactly 180 degrees, we're on a flat surface. There's no predetermined anything. That's just the result of geometry.
Yeah. So okay. Again, my expertise is not trigonometry, so I can talk to you about this as an abstract concept, and I'm not afraid of that. I'm fine with that. So I guess my question would be to you: what does measuring a triangle have to do with surveying?
That is what surveyors do. They measure triangles. It's all triangulation.
Well, triangulation, okay. All right, if you're going to use it that way, I understand. I was trying to get the abstract idea in terms of... So triangulation, then, you're talking about 3 different geographical points on a relatively level surface. Is that correct?
3...
When you triangulate, if you're a surveyor, where are the 3 points of your triangulation? How about that?
They're on the surface of the Earth.
That's what I just said. Okay, great. So we're on the same page. Okay, so I can track with you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So they and that's how all of the borders of all the states. That's how all the cities are done. Everything until GPS was done with triangulation.
Uh-huh.
So here I have on the screen from a book where, so what they did is they, let's see, what year was this published? 1900, they published this book that's the result of, and the entire United States was surveyed from coast to coast, what's now the lower 48. This was before Alaska or Hawaii. And so these the points here, we got like Pilot Peak, Promontory, Ogden Peak, Salt Lake Base, Antelope. So these are different peaks that they set up. They set up these stations at different peaks, and then they triangulate across them. And you can see that, when you have lots of triangles, you get more confirmation that everything is done accurately. Right. So when they measure these, when
you get horizontal triangles, right? Because you're talking about 3 geographical points as you look out across the horizon, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So you find from one peak, you look and you sight another peak, and you measure the angle from another peak, right? So you're always going off of other stuff, and so you measure the angle between these two peaks here, right? And then you find another one, right? So some of these are sighting to 5 or 6 or 10 different points across the distance there.
Okay, let me try to restate a little bit and find out if I'm understanding. When you say, let's just limit it to 3 peaks, right? So if you've got three peaks, and by that you mean a mountain peak?
Some of them are, some of them aren't. Often, if it's a low-lying point, they'll build a temporary structure, 25 to 100 feet high.
Okay.
So yeah, it doesn't have to be a peak.
Right. Okay. So that point would be perpendicular to that particular location, right?
Yeah. So they often will get, and they'll put a geodetic marker in that point. They'll embed it in the ground, and then they'll use that and then they'll have the plumb bob of their theodolite will come right down to that point.
Right. Sure. Okay, I got that. Sure. Okay. All right. So now, if you are talking about though a topographical mountain, right? So, but if you're using a peak. So I guess what I'm trying to understand, when you were using peak before, were you using peak in that generic sense of those man-made points of references?
Oh, I was reading off of the actual screen here where some of these points are actually peaks. But there's one here called Desert, another one called IBEPAH. I don't know what that is. These are in Utah. There's one that's on the top of a mountain, another one that's on Promontory. So it is easier because you need to get over the topography. It's easier to use a high altitude, high elevation, to see the other ones.
Okay, so let me just kind of paint a mock scenario that if we're talking about Pikes Peak, for instance, and there's a reference point on Pikes Peak at, say, 15,000 feet, and I don't even know if I'm making any sense because that's so high up. But then you find another man-made peak that's like 5 miles away, and like you said, it was 100 feet up. The top of that peak that's man-made, to my surveying equipment, is going to be a straight tangent. Right?
Say that again.
If you had to make a man-made peak as a reference point, and like you said, it could be 100 feet high. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm just going off of some of the pictures. It doesn't matter how high.
Yeah, sure. That's fine. So then, let's say, for instance, let's make it a mile away, and it was a 300-foot building. and you're at the top of the building, you're perpendicular to your location. The other reference point is perpendicular to its location. The tangent between each point of reference is going to be a straight line. It's going to be from point to point through the air. It's going to be a straight line.
Yep.
Yeah. The only way that you're going to get that to curve is by imposing a construct of sphericity that you have to impose.
But there's
not.
But the point to point, that this isn't measuring a curve from point to point.
Okay, but I thought that you were saying that geodetic surveyors take curvature into account, because if you're going to measure,
they do,
point,
but you're putting it in the wrong place.
Okay.
Right. So they go from point to point, right? And you wind up measuring a triangle and all the angles in that triangle. Right? So far you haven't figured any curve yet. There's no curve yet until you sit down and you do the math and you add up the angles of the inside of that triangle. That's when you find that there's a curve.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to have 3 different points. 2 of them are man-made. One of them is a topographical hill, okay? And so the 2 points that are on the ground that are man-made, let's say they're 50 feet high, but the tops of those are the points of reference. So those 2 points are, say, 10 miles apart. Point A is 10 miles apart from point B. And those are 2 man-made peaks. The third peak, C, is a hill, and that hill is, say, 300 feet high. And its distance from A is a mile, and its distance from B is 10 miles. So you're measuring point to point to point. So you're going to have, I don't even know what the hell anymore, whatever kind of triangle that is, isosceles, I don't know. Okay, whatever. You're still going to have 180 degrees inside that triangle, no matter what.
If it's flat.
It is flat.
Except that the measurements don't show up with 180 degrees. So I'm having...
Well, the problem... Right. So the problem that we're having right now is I just made something up completely. I just made it up. And in my made-up scenario, the insides of the triangle are 180 degrees.
Okay.
So again, I'm going to cop out, and I don't care who calls me a pussy or whatever in the chat. Go ahead. This is not my field, but I do not believe that you can get curvature from geodetic surveying when you are measuring angles. The curvature is an imposed measurement. It's not going to be the result of measuring straight geometry. It's just not.
So hold on. What you're just doing though is it is a cop out because every time you measure a triangle, there's more than 180 degrees in it in reality. And that's the foundation of geodetic surveying. That's the entire field is reliant on that. And it's an important...
If you make a 2-dimensional triangle on a piece of paper right now, you're telling me that the interior angles are going to be more than 180 degrees?
No, on a piece of paper, it's going to be 180 degrees.
Okay. Yeah, so one of the things that I did as a thought experiment when I was thinking about this was a little bit of what we're talking about, actually. So if you and I and another person were to be on 3 different peaks, we all went hiking and we got separated on purpose because we wanted to do some observations or whatever. And I'm on mountain 1, you're on mountain 2, and Billy Joe Bob's over there on mountain 3. And we all climb to the same elevation. We are all going to be level with each other, no matter how far we stretch those mountains. Like, say, for instance, those mountains were 5 miles, 7 miles, and 3 miles apart from each other. If we doubled that to 10 miles, 14 miles, 6 miles, if we tripled that, if we quadrupled that, you would always still and ever will be level with me the whole time.
Yeah, and if it's a sphere, level is distance from the center or distance from the ellipsoid. surface, and if it's flat, it's going to be a distance from a plane.
Right. So then you and I have to come to an agreement as to how you measure curvature, because you can't assert that it's a curve unless you know that it is.
Yep. And that's why I'm saying this is a measurement of the curve.
Well, okay, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. This is not my field, and I can reference, I don't care if you call it appeal to authority, Chris Van Matry in Denver, Colorado, is a trained surveyor.
He is not a geodetic surveyor.
Okay. Well,
he's a planar surveyor.
Okay, that's fine, but
Okay.
he understands the mechanics and the physics of measuring geodetic.
I know he's not trained as that, but now Jesse Kozlowski or Jeff, the main surveyor, they are trained geodetic surveyors, and they understand this well, and I've spoken at length with both of them.
Yeah.
So
again, this is going to be something that we're just going to say he said, she said, because unless you have done these measurements yourself, you're going to have to reference someone else. I'm going to have to reference someone else because I haven't done any measurements myself. I'm just simply, again, like you said, if the Earth is flat, then you're right, Travis. These measurements are always going to be 180 degrees. Again, this is hearsay. I've seen other people.
And you cut out there a little bit. I hear nothing at all. So, yeah, that's kind of skipping over that. Well, people, what do we got here? Let me check to see if we have any. Nope. There it is. Nothing still. The I'm pretending to think fallacy. Cosmonaut 6, how can we know anything about the sun unless we go there? Yep. His BM Furball, his argument isn't very compelling. Yeah. So here's, I don't know. We see right here these triangles all go past 180 degrees. This one here from Ibapa to Pilot Peak to Ogden Peak is 62.66 arc seconds over. Yep, and he dropped out. Two of me. Sorry, people. 62.66 degrees more than 180. This one is 39 arc second. Not degrees, sorry. 62.66 arc seconds. Yeah, Sean Hufford. He's admitted he's got nothing when he said it was the scenario in his head. He got 180 degrees, but ignores the real world measurements that don't agree with what's in his head. Exactly. So, being that this... oh, we're back.
Yeah, that's really funny because I have been on meets in this area and I've never dropped a call here. So I don't know where I dropped off at, but
yeah, I don't remember, but I was showing here. I have actual measurements that are documented, and these are the measurements. The interesting thing about this is these are the measurements that were used to, in state boundaries and all of that kind of. It's important to get these measurements right. To get them wrong is a severe problem, and
it's important to get state boundaries 100% accurate.
As much as you can, absolutely. If you don't have them accurate, then you have a lot of disagreements. So, the U.S. government has their own surveying that they do, and then each state goes and does their own, and because you want to do your own work. And then they find the borders, and if there's some discrepancy, then they have some talks about it and see if anybody had some errors in their measurements, or somehow they determine it. What's the correct line, and certainly there have been major disagreements, especially older times before some of the surveying work was as quite as well developed as it is now. And wrong borders are how wars start, says BM Furball. Exactly.
Yeah.
And in the U.S., it's not as much. Minnesota isn't going to go to war with South Dakota, as if South Dakota could stand a chance. And same thing with United States and Canada. I think we'd crush them, right? What do you think, Mr.
Can you
Puncher?
hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you thought I wasn't here anymore. It sounded like you were just talking to the chat. So
I'm asking Mr. Puncher here if he thinks that, I don't know if he's from Canada, if he thinks that America, there it is. He says we're going down. I think America would kick Canada's butt, and then Canada would apologize. So anyway, so these numbers, it's important to get these right, and so all of these numbers, all the time, has a spherical excess. So here we have 62 arc seconds, 39 arc seconds, 62 arc seconds, 12 arc seconds, 72 arc seconds. All these are more than 180 degrees. And it just goes down the line. Every time that there's this chart in the book, it's the same thing. There's a spherical excess listed, right? There's the spherical excess. Oop, that didn't select the right parts, but 7 arc seconds, 14 arc seconds. So it's something that to just say, nah, I don't get it, and then that doesn't really cut it, because then you're saying basically that surveying doesn't work.
Well, no, I'm not saying surveying doesn't work at all. Again, this is not my field. I can take your word for it. It still doesn't change the fact, MC, that my position on water maintaining its level in a containment is what we observe with bodies of water.
And I don't disagree at all. But the definition of level for a sphere versus a flat plane is different. And so level is
That's
level
correct.
on both.
It's one, except for the fact that, again, from my perspective, the world that you're talking about is a metaphysical construct that doesn't exist. So you can redefine level if you want, but that's not what level is. It's just not. It's not what level is.
No, we don't get to choose how a certain industry defines their jargon. Okay? So the industry of surveying uses the term level to mean a curve conforming to the surface of the earth. We don't get to redefine that on them. That's their term. They get to define it. It's their industry, right? So you work as a trucker. There's words in your jargon in your industry that I wouldn't necessarily understand if you were to say. And same for you. I use the word ham in my industry. What does ham mean? Do you get to pick what ham means?
I understand, MC, what you're saying. I do. I get it. Simply because the globe model has infiltrated every industry and every field so that they redefine reality, which is what this is, okay?
That's your opinion, because I'm going to say everything you're about to say, just repeat for me that you have redefined it for flat, okay? So just as you say that, I'm just keeping that in mind.
No. I'm going back to the original understanding of the word. I'm going back to what people understood a long time ago, before the spherical narrative took over, so that everything had to be redefined according to that concept. Say, for instance, like the speed of light, that's bogus. Okay, the speed of light is bogus. So, but we have to use that jargon and that category now when we deal with light and physics and 4D space and space time and all of this bullshit that dark matter. All of these constructs, MC. All of these constructs are redefining reality in order to make sense of an impossible construct, okay? So one of the reasons why
I would say the impossible construct is a flat Earth. So unless you're going to support it, let's just be careful on what we say.
I have. It's stationary, and the shoreline of all of the major oceans is at the same elevation everywhere.
And of course, that completely matches the globe. So
right, that's the irony, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's not about terminology; it's about measurement, right? So I've shown a measurement that undeniably identifies triangles that are larger than 180 degrees.
Yeah.
You
again,
haven't. So what measurements do you have?
If I were to measure something geodetically, I believe that I would be able to do it accurately in order to build a house or build a city block or something like that. I don't believe that I would need to impose a spherical construct on that measurement. So,
But it's
again,
not.
hold on,
It's
MC,
not an
hold on.
imposition. It outputs that
It,
number.
It is in your world. It's not in my world. It is an imposition. I'm going to say this again though, because you're pushing this geodetic surveying onto me, and I'm telling you over and over again, this is not my field. So if you're going to ask me what I've measured or anything like that in this arena,
I'm giving you a
haven't
wide open. What have you measured? Not just geodetic. What measurement do you have of flatness?
In a generic sense, I've made observations over water at distances of 1 mile, 5 miles, 9 miles, 12 miles, and 20 miles. And I've made observations that, to me, that aren't relying upon math, but are relying upon perspective and known distances. And these observations demonstrate to me that there is no curvature.
So it's not a measurement. If you're not talking math, then it's not actually a measurement. So you don't have measurements. It's just observations where you're making some inferences. Is that right?
No, I'm making deductions that are logical. Again, I'm not making any claims that require me to measure anything. That's on your side. Your side will demand that of me.
Well, no, if you say it's flat, that demands a measurement.
Right. Okay.
Without a doubt, you have to provide the measurement of flatness.
Yeah.
Because I can provide a measurement of curve.
I'm giving you distance.
And you make a claim it's flat, that implies you absolutely have to provide a measurement of flatness.
I'm giving you distance. I'm giving you distance. Okay? So all I can do is appeal to the authorities if I use a paper atlas or if I use GPS. I don't care. If it tells me it's 9 miles away, I'm good with that.
Okay.
What I'm saying to you is, with that known value of the distance from my feet to the opposite shore and my known height of my camera, I'm looking at things that are line of sight directly in front of me.
All right. So do you have some that we can look at? I know you're driving, but is there any that we can look at?
Because you are asking me, I don't want to put this all back on you, but you've had time to peruse my channel, and I'm not trying to plug my channel whatsoever. But there are plenty of shorter videos, not my long streams, but there are plenty of shorter videos where I demonstrate things that I have observed, and have presented arguments and explanations for. So, okay. I was more prepared for a discussion and not a presentation.
Yeah, but when you say it's flat, there's what that's going to mean is we want to see something, right?
Well, if I show you a picture of a house that's 5 miles away, and you see that house, that's not necessarily. You're going to need to see the evidences that I've gathered. Where
I'm going to ask the regular things. What's the observer height? Right, and what's the height of that house?
Well, okay. So let me ask you this question. So, if I were to tell you 5, well, let me do this. 9 miles distance, 2 foot observer height. If you want to work the math on that and tell me what the hidden height would be, I'll give you the punchline. All right, 9 miles, 2 foot observer height.
It would be in standard refraction, 27 to 28 feet.
Okay. What about at night?
At night, it would be more.
What's standard refraction at night?
There's typically more refraction at night because of the temperature
Okay,
differential.
I don't want typical, MC. I'm asking you what the value of refraction is at night.
Okay, then provide to me the temperature all along that viewing distance.
Okay.
You're demanding the number, right?
56 degrees was the air, and 62 was the water.
Okay. At the entire length of it, right? You're demanding an exact number, and so then you need exacting measurements.
Sure. When I look up the weather app and I look up the Chesapeake Bay in my area, it tells me what's true in my area. That's what I can go by.
Okay.
So in my area, that was the measurement.
Okay. So you don't have measurements. You just have some generic ones from a weather station.
Go back to that's fine. If you don't.
So that's why we have to go with an unknown amount of refraction. It's going to give us a range.
An unknown amount of refraction. Okay, so let's just go with that. What was it again?
Standard would be 27. Strong would be 21 feet hidden.
Okay, 21 feet hidden. So what would you say if I have evidence from 2 nights ago where I shot a laser from 2 feet high, and it was a line of sight at 9 miles from my partner in crime?
And how high was he viewing it? And so the problem with lasers is they spread out.
Well, of course they do. Sure. Yeah, but we're talking 21 feet.
Yeah, and they curve.
Right. It should be.
So what was the elevation of the viewer?
He was 4 foot.
So he was kneeling.
He didn't tell me he was kneeling. He was 4 feet above the water. That's what he gave me.
Okay.
So he was probably at the shoreline. He has a Celestron telescope, and mounted. It's probably 4 feet. So he was at the shoreline.
Yep. So
my point is that we have a direct line of sight, right? To me, again, that just speaks. There it is. I see that light. There it is. We also have 2 inches above the water at 5.85 miles. I had my iPhone LED light lit up. He was down with his camera at the shoreline. We had a direct line of sight. There is no curvature. There is none.
Providing that there's no refraction.
It was at night.
Yeah, which has the temperatures are much, and I understand why you do that at night, because the refraction is stronger.
Less.
It's stronger at night.
Why is that?
So the temperature is colder down low, but that's fine. And same thing with the FE core laser stuff.
No, hold on. No. Let's not go to a third party here. You're assuming the temperature was colder where I'm at, and you don't know that.
Well, you didn't measure it though.
Yeah, but you made a claim. So here's my point, though. It doesn't matter if I flash a flashlight. Not only did we use the laser, we also used his truck's headlights, and he was at 10 feet above with the headlights, and I could see them with my naked eye. My point is that you have a source. I don't give a shit how much diffraction it has or how much refraction it has. You see the source. You might see it expand, right? You might see the point, the laser that I was looking when I saw the laser go out over the water. It was a fine point, but when he saw it, it was wider than the source, but it's still coming from the source. It doesn't matter that it expands. It's still coming from the line of sight from the source. That's the point.
It totally matters if it expands, and it matters if you don't know the temperature, and it matters if you didn't measure things. And all you did was shine a laser and say it must be flat because of that. But let's ignore everything else, and that doesn't work all that well.
I think that your 21 feet is pretty significant. Lasers do not travel up and over curvature.
Lasers curve the same as other light. It's just light.
Lasers.
There's nothing special about There's nothing special about the light coming out of a laser. It's just one frequency.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Because when he was using a lantern and waving it, I couldn't see the lantern, but he could see my laser. So yes, there is a difference between light sources. Yes, there is.
Its intensity, certainly.
Sure, but that's a difference.
But light bends the same whether it's from a laser or from something else that emits light.
But the intensity of the laser also needs to be taken into account. That
Really?
it will maintain a more straight tangent. Yeah,
Because it's more intense, it won't bend as much. I
That's
would
like,
need, I would
that's
need
like-
to see the
that's-
citation on that, please.
that's
Because
well,
that is a brand new set of physics, people.
okay. Yeah. So, if we talk about the strength and durability of a straw as opposed to a pencil, those are two straight objects that are cylindrical, but one of them has more flexibility than the other one. That's all I'm saying is that if you have a weaker light source, it's not going to maintain the stamina or the strength of a stronger light source. So the other observations that I have in this same area have to do with the observations. I have a red roof house. I have two or three other points as well, and the differences that they present to me at different times, different days, different conditions, right, show me that there's no constant of what you would like to call a 7/6R standard.
There's no question. It is not always the same.
Right. Yeah. Except for the fact that with Miles Davis today, Miles Davis tried to present one photograph as proof for curvature. And he said, look, the mountain is here, these peaks are here. This is exactly what we would expect to see on a spherical Earth. And I said, do you have any other observations of this location that we can look at? And he said, well, I went up there numerous times. I said, that's not what I asked. Do you have any other photographic evidence that we can look at so that you can show me this mountain doesn't change in any of those conditions? And he said, no. So I said, okay, well then I would require of you more evidence that this mountain is not going to change its height, its shape, its
so now
compression.
if I remember what Miles Davis does, typically he's there's some noises there. So are you still there?
Yeah, I just went on mute because I was walking by the warehouse and there was a little bit of ambient noise, so I was just putting myself on mute.
Yeah, so let me see. Hold on a second. There's when you're doing measurements, you want to control the variables, right? So one thing about Miles Davis, if I'm remembering from his Trapane law, is that what it was? His measurement from there?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so he does have there's a little bit more control, but you're right, there is some variation, but because what he's doing is he's looking from his elevation to a distant elevation that's the same height, right? And then he's looking at something past that. And so the refraction does definitely potentially apply. And what the refraction does over that distance typically is it raises your observation of the more distant object, which still didn't work for that because it was still below that the top of that bridge. So but you're right, more measurements is better, and so in science we take and we accumulate evidence, and so we add more and more up, and when we have lots of evidence that is in support of something, then we are more confident that that thing is the case, right? So that Tropane law measurement or observation is one long distance measurement where the curve of the Earth is apparent, right? And yours, I'll give you this. Yours across the water is one measurement where it looks flatter than it should be. So there we go. We have two offsetting measurements.
Well, I wouldn't say that it's flatter than it should be. Again, my claim is that I have a direct line of sight. There's nothing in my observation that would imply to me that there's anything else than a direct line of sight, especially with the 2 inches above the water line.
So yeah, so if you did the math, what I mean by flatter than it should be is if you did the math, would it work for a radius of double the claimed radius of the Earth? Would it work for a radius of quadruple the radius of the Earth claimed?
Well,
would
you'd have to prove the radius of the Earth.
Well, yeah, and of course that's been done. But here's what I'm saying when I say it's longer than it should be.
So,
right.
So who physically measured the circumference of the equator?
Well, the radius of the Earth and the circumference of the Earth has been measured in many ways, and
yeah, I didn't ask that.
Yeah, I'm not going to go for that straw man because
you made a claim about the radius. I'm just asking you, and you said that it was proven.
I did not say it was proven. I said it's been measured.
Okay, I apologize. You said that it's been measured, right? But no one's gone to the center of the Earth, so it's a mathematical measurement. It's not real. Okay,
it's absolutely a mathematical measurement. You're correct, and it is also very real. Just because nobody went there.
My question would be again: who traversed the equator and measured every single inch?
And that's a straw man. Nobody did that. Nobody claimed it, and you don't need to do that to measure things.
Okay, so I'm just trying to understand then. How can you arrive at the measurement of the radius if no one has measured the circumference?
There's lots of ways to do it. And I will post in the chat a book from 1906 called A History of the Determination of the Figure of the Earth from Arc Measurements. This goes over many different places where people measured the radius of the Earth using lots of different methods. So
again,
hold on, I'm not done. Just a second.
Okay.
We can measure using triangulation how tall a building is. If you know how far it is and you can measure the angle up to that building, you can know how tall that building is. And nobody says, well, you don't know how tall it is because you didn't drop a tape measure from the top edge of that building down to the ground. Nobody does that. And so I won't accept you doing that. I'll just say that's a straw man and reject it, okay? So we know the height of buildings, and we can use more than just a single tape measure to measure things. All right.
Okay, so because we're having a conversation right now, can you just basically give me an idea as to one of those measurements that had to do with measuring the circumference of the Earth? If no one has physically started in point A, traversed all the way around the globe back to point A, if no one's done that, I'm just asking you to describe not just a reference to a book, which I appreciate, but like you mentioned arc minutes, something along those lines. Are you talking about measuring the motions of the heavens? Is that what you're talking about with arc minutes?
No.
Okay, so can you maybe just pick one of those? Because you said it's been done in many ways. I'm just asking you for one.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
And I'm going to go back to surveying, okay, because that's generally what this is. So I'm going to pull up a thing from Jeff, the Maine surveyor, Maine being the state he lives in and is licensed in. So he measured using reciprocal zenith angles which sounds a little complicated, but it's not that complicated. Let's see, is this the one? Nope. Plumb line. So he dropped, this is a good one. He dropped a...
down to 401. And the...
Sorry, I'll drop off the audio here. So what he did is he went and he measured 2 positions on the Earth here, right? He's got this this theodolite here, and I don't know if you're seeing it or not, but I'll try to describe it. He's got a theodolite. He measured the elevation. He's got this other theodolite. He measured the elevation, and then there's a target on theodolites. They use theodolites to target other theodolites all the time. So he measured it, and then what he did is he measured the angle from the zenith, which zenith is straight up, and then he measured how far it is from straight up and down. And he got, here it is, he got a, when you do that, again, on a flat surface, you're going to get a zenith angle from straight up down to where the other one is at. Even if it's on a hill, you're going to get it down a little. This one and this one up here, you're going to get up a little. They'll add up on a flat surface to 180 degrees. If the surface isn't flat, they'll be over 180 degrees, right? So now he's using a theodolite, which is specifically designed to measure angles. And he used the laser in it to sight from one to the other and the back to each other. So both lasers sighted each other. And then he measured the angles and got on this one here 14. What is it? 14. He went. He did this measurement 4 times. There it is. 15.29. Oh my goodness, it's a little small. But all 4 measurements, all 4 times that he did this, he came up with more than 180 degrees. Now it's the same thing as the other surveying stuff. If it's more than 180 degrees, the Earth isn't flat. If it is 180 degrees, the Earth is flat. Right. So, and I see you're it looks like you're muted right now, probably because there's sound in the background, maybe.
Yeah, I'm in the warehouse right now. I've been listening to you, but we're back to the beginning of the geodetic surveying narrative, and again, I'm sorry, MC. I just do not believe. Call it incredulity if you want. I do not believe that if you took a straight geometric measurement of the Earth, in terms of a geographical measurement of a proximate location, that you would get curvature without imposing a preconceived, agreed upon value of 24,901 miles, and then you break that down into 360 degrees, all of that stuff. If you measure from point A to point B to point C, you're going to get a geometric shape that is not spherical. That's just it. That's it.
So you've made a claim with no support, while I'm showing on the screen the values that he measured that completely contradict your claim.
I understand that's what the narrative is. My claim is that the effects of what I call the Aether band, which is just simply to make everybody happy, atmospheric effects, right? Temperature, moisture, humidity, condensation, evaporation, light, time of day, evening, all of those things. You are not going to get an accurate measurement over distance, because the effects of all of those conditions are going to warp and distort that which you are observing. I don't care if it's photography or if it's theodolites at 1 mile or 2 miles. You're not going to get You're not going to get an accurate measurement.
Okay, so that's a claim, and without evidence, it will be dismissed.
No, I have evidence.
But here I have a paper
Don't ignore the facts, MC. I have thousands and thousands of photographs of the same location, different days, different times, different conditions, and they never look the same. They're never at the same height.
Sure.
They're never. So that, to me, again, is evidence that there is no standard refraction. 7/6R is a mathematical equation given to, I don't even know, do whatever.
Yeah, and according to you, which I completely agree with, it's not the same. There's a range. And so you can measure that over and over on different days. 4 different times Jeff did this and found different numbers every time, but they're all within a certain range. Right?
Why stop at 4 days?
Because that's what he had done, right? He's not going to go back to the same spot every day for 10 years, right?
Why not?
Because of the shape of the Earth has already been determined, right? But here's the deal.
Well, then I guess we're done.
Yeah, exactly. So find something that contradicts this, right? Go ahead and find some reciprocal zenith angles that don't match, right? Find thousands of them. So here's this paper here by A.L. Johnson from Cambridge, University of Cambridge, who talks about it. Do reciprocal vertical angles, which is another name for reciprocal zenith angles, do they have a role in geomatics? Right. So he goes over, and this is just he's talking about it and looking at these different things, and his conclusion is yes, it does. Right. And people still use it for surveying work. So basically, we have surveyors that have to get their job done right, or nobody would be very happy with what they do, because the Aether band would ruin all of their measurements, apparently. Yet the entire industry of surveying still somehow gets paid because they do their work and it's correct enough.
Right. But again, conveniently, you are still addressing a field that is not my field, okay? Those are not my observations. My observations are intended to provide an alternate explanation for the observation of what is alleged to be curvature being the reason why certain objects like mountains or buildings or boats are obscured from the bottom up.
Okay.
So
and I said fine. We'll take yours and we'll take Miles Davis, and they cancel each other out. So what other evidence do you have?
No. I am miles beyond Miles Davis. I have more than one observation, okay? And my observations, because they have to do with boats disappearing from the bottom up in water, I have an alternate explanation, which is what I ask certain people if they make claims about, like today on Jose's channel, there was an alleged pilot who said that he believes the Earth is curved because the horizon doesn't rise to the eye level at cruising altitudes. And I asked him how he eliminated the effects of the atmosphere from being the cause of why the horizon didn't rise to eye level, and he didn't. Okay. Here's
the deal.
Hold on. No.
Okay.
Hold on. This is
Go
very
ahead.
important. He did not eliminate that variable, which means there's no conclusion. You can make an hypothesis if you want. Okay. The explanation for boats going over the curve, the observation and interpretation of a boat going over the curve, according to my data that I do plan on publishing, is not due to Earth curve. It is always, it is only, and it ever will be, the obstruction is due to the Aether band. There is no curvature.
Okay.
And I have ample photographs and videos to prove it.
So if you're going to dismiss all observations that support the Earth, the a globe because of uncontrolled atmospheric conditions, I'll do the same. I will completely dismiss all of your optical observations. So
No,
what do you
okay,
have
so
now?
hold on. Can you restate the accusation you just leveled at me? What was
you're,
the accusation?
You're dismissing all optical observations.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so then Miles Davis's observations are back?
No, I asked him to provide more. I didn't dismiss them.
More. Okay, so yeah, if you're not accepting what he said, you're dismissing them.
MC, don't generalize my criticism of Miles Davis, okay? I am not making a generic criticism. I'm saying to him, you do not understand that which you are observing because you are not taking into account the effects that the ether band, the atmospheric conditions, whatever you want to call them, have on the objects that you are observing. Because if you did, you would know that you cannot rely on one photograph to give you an accurate, right? You even said that the other guy did 4, right? You're going to be okay with 1? I don't think so. So it's not just a hand wave dismissal. It's not.
Okay. So if he provided 10 on 10 different days, would you take that?
Of course, I would take it into consideration, and I think that we would have to evaluate it.
Okay.
Sure, of course.
And if he had 20, and if
Yep.
he had 10 each from 10 different locations,
Yep.
right? So yeah, and I'm with that. Science is about an accumulation of evidence, right? So you take Miles Davis, and that's only one observation. That's one thing, right? You take the pilot, right? Who says the horizon does not rise to eye level, right? And he has one measurement of it, right?
Or one observation, sure.
Yep. So but you'd need more than one, right? You'd need 10, right? So I can give you this one here by Geistview, who measured it, and the horizon did not rise to eye level.
What is the topic? I'm not sure because I don't see anything. So what are you referring to?
This is horizon rising to eye level.
Okay, that's just still a generic idea. That's an abstract concept. Do you have something to present, or I'm not?
Yeah,
I'm
well,
not sure.
you were talking about the pilot, and the pilot said that the horizon does not rise to eye level, and you said, well, he only has one example, and what did he do to make sure that the Aether band wasn't attributing to some modification of what he was seeing, right?
Right. And my qualification for that is I know that shorter distances and lower level observations are affected drastically. I have my very first video footage that I recorded of the Anacapa Islands. Within 1 minute, I had such a drastic change in the observation that if I showed you 2 different pictures of the same observation, I doubt that you would say that those were the same location. It changed so much. So what I'm saying is that the observations that I've made on the ground level at numerous times, over and over again, thousands, hundreds of hours, thousands of pictures, that when you elevate yourself and you're looking out over farther distances and you're looking at a horizon that is compounded even more because you're farther away, that those effects that I witness on a microcosm are only exacerbated on a macrocosm. So if you are simply, not you, MC, so if a person is going to simply say the Earth is curved because the horizon doesn't rise to eye level, I'm going to say you don't understand what you're looking at or through. And if you and until you demonstrate that you have eliminated that as an alternate, you have no conclusion.
Okay, so we're back to you haven't eliminated anything either. So no observations.
I don't need to.
Yeah. So no optical observations are allowed.
I don't know why you're making that claim.
No, you made that claim. You said unless you can definitively eliminate all of that, all of the variations, then you can't allow that observation.
I did not say those are not my words. Go back and if I said that, and then I'll super chat you.
Okay. Well, no. Say it again then. Then what? How are you dismissing the horizon not rising to eye level observation?
How am I dismissing
the
horizon? Hold on, I'm trying to repeat it. I'm trying to get it in my head so that I can answer your question. How am I dismissing the horizon not rising to eye level? I'm not dismissing the horizon not rising to eye level. I will freely admit the horizon more than likely does not maintain a horizontal plane with my eye, okay? But I'm going to say that the reason why it doesn't is due only, ever, and always to the effects of the physical nature of air and light.
Okay.
So I'm not
those
dismissing.
observations.
I'm dealing with we're dealing with the interpretation of the observation, MC.
So you're saying that the observations are that the horizon doesn't rise to eye level because of optical effects over through the air,
or that the ability to determine the horizon at all is dependent upon atmospheric conditions. Always, every single time. You're going to see. Okay, so let me say this. I can show you the same location that's 3 miles away, and the apparent horizon extends to the shoreline, extends off the shoreline, extends closer to me. It moves. It's not a constant. And it's not only not a constant at 3 miles, it's not a constant at 5 miles. It's not a constant at 9 miles. It's not a constant at 12 miles. It's not a constant at 20 miles.
Okay.
When you look out...
That's
hold
fine.
on, I'm on a roll. I'm on a soapbox. When you are looking out over the ocean, what you think is the end of the water line, it isn't. And I walk through that in my channel. I explain it very clearly. I have a tutorial that I call a tutorial on the Aether band where I walk through this. It's only 47 minutes or so. But it's very simple. It's very simple. If you look at my explanation, it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, so you're saying that we cannot trust optical observations.
No. I'm saying the interpretation of the observations that we're making have to take into account the refraction, mirroring, inferior miraging, distance.
Okay.
All of that.
Okay, so did your measurements take that into account?
I have taken into account the distance of my observations from my feet to the observation itself, my camera height. I'm not measuring for Earth curve. I'm making observations and interpreting the data. I have taken screenshots of my weather app and whatnot, but again, in my opinion, that stuff means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. All you're going to see is, oh, it was 67 degrees. Oh, the air was warmer than the water. Oh, so that means that you're going to have an inferior mirage. Okay, I have an inferior mirage, but what you can't tell me is how much that inferior mirage is going to block and distort what you call the horizon. You can't predict that. So all of those measurements mean nothing.
So all of your measurements mean nothing?
If you like to make those kinds of bizarre.
That's what I'm trying to get. You're making all these claims
about
optical observations not mattering for anything, but yours do for some reason. That's a double standard.
I did not say my observations don't mean anything. That is not what I said. I said your concern about the temperature and the humidity mean nothing because you can't predict what that inferior... Okay, so look, if I say to you, MC Tune, the temperature of the air was 67 degrees, the temperature of the water was 76 degrees, and the humidity was this, and you said, you know what, you're more than likely on that day going to have an inferior mirage. If I take a picture and I have an inferior mirage, that's all you can tell me. Great, good job. The thing that you cannot tell me is how that inferior mirage is going to distort the image that I'm looking at so that I don't know where the horizon is and that I don't know from the point at which the water ends, which you would call the horizon, and the distance from that apparent horizon to my location. Because there is a physical distance. There is. But you need more data that your 7/6R, your air temperature, your water temperature, your humidity, that is not going to be enough. You are lacking information. And the only way I can give you that kind of information is if I quit my job and do this full time, and I can't do that. I'm sorry.
Yep. So
don't make this crazy universal negative, bro, because I'm not making claims that nothing can be known.
Oh my goodness, just a second. James Collins just identified my scrolling text across the bottom. It's been weeks.
Does he win a prize?
He win. So. There's no prize. Yeah, he said, "Is it from VeggieTales?" It is. It's the Dance of the Cucumber from VeggieTales.
Dance, cucumber, dance.
There you go.
Pepino.
Escuchen el pepino.
I love Larry the Cucumber. He is absolutely hilarious.
All right, well done, James Collins. So.
You know what I'd like to do, MC?
Yeah.
I'd like to actually to wrap this up because I planned on doing a stream on my way home. I actually have a fetish for karaoke, and I'm going to do that.
Can I put in a request?
If it's in my range, I'll sing it.
Megadeth. Anything by Megadeth, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no.
Holy War's Punishment Due is a good one.
I would have to learn it because I don't know it.
Or you could do Never Walk Alone, A Call to Arms. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, so, that is out of my genre. I wasn't a huge metal fan. But what I was going to say, MC, was if you would be willing, because I came onto your playground, if you would be willing to come onto my playground, I would be more than happy to show you some of my observations, and we can just talk through them. You know, you can just see what I see and ask me questions, and because I believe in the simplicity, the logic, and the empirical ability of our senses. I believe that you and I can have a rational discussion to where what I say to you will make sense, and I understand that people want to put a requirement on me of, well, what's your equation, and what's your value, and what's your how can you quantify the ether band? I don't think that's necessary. I know that I know that they say that because they feel that is a necessary issue to address. But I think that that's only a necessary issue to address ultimately if I'm going to present something for peer review. If I'm talking to you and I can show you this and you're like, you know what, that makes sense, then my next statement to you is, yeah, just understand and know that that's what reality is. Believe what I'm telling you.
Yeah, we can measure, but yeah, I'd be open to that. I do have I have a tight schedule sometimes, but especially if it's later in the evening, sometimes that works better for me. What state is your home base, or what time zone?
I am Eastern Standard. I'm Maryland.
Okay.
My evenings, best for me, would be Saturday or Sunday. Because I don't work on Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah. Well, maybe a Sunday sometime. I chaperone stuff on Saturday nights. Usually. So, yeah, I'd be open to that, and we can email about that to see if we can find something to set up. I am heading to Texas here in a couple weeks.
Me too.
I will be in Dallas.
Me too.
On the 15th.
Me too.
Are you going to be at that conference on the 14th and 15th?
I am. Yes.
Well, there you go. Maybe we can meet.
There you go.
Yes, I will. I'm planning to be there. I'm getting into. We're pretty sure we're going to get it into Frisco somewhere early afternoon on Thursday, coming from Galveston. So that's all the plans we have made so far. Sean Hufford says I'm going to get kicked out at the door.
And you know what? I'll even have a complimentary The Plain Truth t-shirt for you. But you might not want it because it's got all the Flat Earth debate housekeeping questions on the back of it.
Oh, yeah, they've been answered, so that's cool. All right, well, yeah, you got to go. And so I'm going to wrap things up with you and then maybe have a little... see if there's anybody who wants to join for a bit. So I thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks, MC.
And yeah, we'll probably see you down in Texas there. So
sweet. Looking forward to it. I'll buy you a beer.
Ew.
Okay, I'll buy you a soda.
No, I don't drink pop. I don't know. I'm boring. Sorry. Mason jar water is common for me. So
distilled, of course, right?
This is filtered, not distilled. I don't drink distilled water. I don't want that. But
it's the bee's knees. You don't want distilled water?
Nope. I do like it. It's good, and the ice you make from it is good. But it removes minerals, and I don't want that removed. I want other minerals left in, not the bad stuff. So I filter all the water. It's through a good carbon filter.
All right.
Yes. All right.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you. Everybody else, stick around. So, all right, we'll catch you later, Travis.
All right. Thanks a lot, MC.
Yep. Bye. We got the honk. Please pull Gary Wybenga's ears. Let's see. I don't know how to... Travis, you're still in. Let's see. There, he's out. Okay. And there's two of me. Look out. So, all right. Anybody interested? Well, let's see the chat here. Please pull Gary Wybenga's ears. He's being naughty at me. Gary, are you just saying, copy pasting? Elevation just extends the horizon farther out to the point where the angle's too narrow to differentiate between objects close together. Yeah. Could you do the math, Gary, on the Rayleigh criterion a little, and then explain what it is that the Rayleigh criterion actually does, and the result of things being beyond that little magic point there? Christ Puncher says 2 MC tunes would be awesome. How's that? Oh yeah, this the shirt here, the stream the other day. Was it yesterday? Last week? When was it? Dora was talking about, she was a little OCD about something. And she said she has CDO. It's like OCD, but all the letters in the proper order as they should be. So, yes, we got a couple super chats. Let me read those quick. And then if anybody's interested in coming in, I'll Sean Hufford, and if you wanted. Let's see. There you are. Let me send you this here. Too many things in my copy buffer. There you go. And one more there. So we got Earth is seriously flat. Bueno for $2. Deep Plane Truth is a hero on our beautiful stationary flat Earth that's rotating. So GPS $4 for Stuff and Things, and Cretan Bull for 5 Canadian. Knight Rider last week, and Max Headroom this week. It's an 80s channel now. And there we have Sean Hufford. How you doing, Sean?
I'm doing quite all right.
I don't know. Is this the first time you've been on my channel?
I think it's the second, actually.
Yeah. Well, welcome.
We've been in other hangouts before, but
yes,
they've been everywhere. So I think this is the second time I've been on your channel.
Yeah. Cool. Well, welcome. I don't know if there you go. I can transition. We can see your globe on the screen there.
I love showing off my globe.
Oh yeah, we got Brian Peck. There you go. That'll do. So, what'd you think? We got a lot of my observations count and nothing else does, is what I kind of got from that.
Yeah, I tried pointing that out, but I couldn't tell which. I think you have 3 monitors going, so I was waiting for you to look up at your upper left. And
for the chat,
I actually repeated a couple things a couple times, hoping you would catch it.
It's hard during a debate or a discussion like that. I'm like, do I want to read the chat? I know there's going to be a lot of feedback. And so I'm always debating a little bit, how much do I want to look at that? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I've done this enough to where you have to really try to figure out what you want to concentrate on, because it's hard to do both.
Yeah. So we have Brian.
It's an acquired skill.
Yeah. We got Brian Peck, and you are currently mute. There you go, Brian. You're unmuted. And then, how do I not have both of you on the screen, Sean? I want to have just the speaker on the screen.
I
Hangouts
don't know
does.
with the way you got it set up. I'm not the guy for dealing with organizing the layouts of stuff. That you've got to talk to Jared about that.
Yeah, I don't know. All right.
Shouldn't be too hard to get him in here to do that either.
Yeah. Well, I don't see him in the chat, so.
He was for a little bit. Till.
The Puncher of Christ. How goes it?
Hey, there's
I can fix that a little bit better. So. Yeah, he's nice enough. I'll give him that, but I didn't.
Oh, he's cordial. I've had no issues with going, irate like I do with Anthony Riley with him.
Yeah,
I've actually talked to Travis a couple times on Jose's channel, and it's always been very unheated. So yeah, Travis actually conducts himself very well. I'll give him that.
Until he gets caught in his fudging anything, he was on Sean G's the other day, and it had become clear that one of his photos was compressed and manipulated when he tried to line them up, and so we stretched them back out and overlaid them, and he got pissed off and left.
Well, yeah, and his red house, he didn't bring that up, but I did see something on theflatearthsociety.org about that. Let's see who somebody. I don't know. I won't give away your somebody emailed me. I'll just say that about it, and I read the whole thing of that same red roof house, and it didn't match. Stuff was hidden, as always. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of reading on the surveying information lately, and that's why I brought it up again. And of course, his cop out is that's not my field. It's not that hard, right? If it's more than 180 degrees, it's not flat.
Yeah, you don't have to be
You
an
have
expert
to
in the
realize he
field.
doesn't have. Yeah, sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
Oh, that's all I was going to say. Yeah, you don't have to be an expert in the field. Just understand that, yeah, if it's not on something flat, it will be more. Well, if it's on the outside of a ball, at least.
Yep. So, here. I have, so I was at, my glasses broke the other day. The bulb came off. I went to the place where I bought my glasses. And they had this book. I'm hearing a little echo of myself. This book
That's
here,
coming from Brian.
Oh, hang on, let me fix that.
right here. F in exams, the very best totally wrong answers. And I thought, what more appropriate thing than when discussing the topic of flat Earth than to look at the wrong answers to test questions. So, Steve is driving his car. He's traveling at 50 feet per second, and the speed limit is 40 miles per hour. Is Steve speeding? The answer? He could find out by checking his speedometer.
Although, in all fairness, though, I don't work in Imperial, so.
Well, yeah, and he went. Of course, the question is to convert from feet per second to miles per hour, or the other way around. So,
yeah.
Explain the word momentum. A brief moment.
Oh. Oh man!
I think one of my favorites is actually it's a trig problem. It says find x, and it's a triangle, and it's given you're given a couple of the angles and another side. So the guy just circles x and says, "There it is."
That's on the cover.
I like that one too, where it's just an algebra question. It's like expand this the equation, and it's like, x plus x or y or whatever, and they just have the x and the plus sign like getting further and further away from each other as it goes down the page.
Nice. Let me go back to everybody. There we go.
Well, one of the issues that I took with it, that I actually said a couple times in the chat, was when he was talking about how, things go below the horizon because of perspective. And I brought up, one of my drone flights where I was actually able to see Chicago from 84 miles away. Between me and Chicago, the tallest object between us is 92 feet in elevation. So my drone actually started flying at 103 feet. So according to perspective, Chicago should be about a quarter to a third of the size of the sun. The Willis Tower. It's going to be 12 arc minutes tall above the horizon if the Earth was flat. But I couldn't see the Willis Tower until I got over 1,100 feet in altitude.
Sean, you can't bring that up because that's not his field of study. You can't possibly bring that up.
And on top of that, he didn't even know what an arc minute was. So
yeah, he thought I was talking about celestial stuff. Then all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Well, here's a little tidbit for him. The sun is on average 52 arc minutes, or 32 arc minutes. I'm sorry.
32, yeah.
So,
I was looking for, if anybody has this, I was looking for actual measurements of the angular size of the sun and moon at extremes. And so I got in touch with. I've asked a few people, and I asked Astronomy Now, and he said he didn't know of any offhand of any particular, like the extreme most, but he wrote a program in Python, and I'm being a programmer, I love that. And so let me see. And I didn't know until he sent this, that there's some pretty well established libraries that are for use in Python and other programming languages that are about all about astronomical stuff. So
when you say sorry,
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, when you say extremes, are you referring to like with the sun, like when we're closest to it, or like with different just things in the atmosphere, like everything to do with it, or just how close we are?
It's about the size, the as we view it. Yeah. So our distance as we go from our farthest out distance to our closest distance in our orbit is going to cause the sun to look bigger or smaller. Plus, as we orbit, as the Earth rotates, right? If the sun is the camera, when you're on the side, you're farther than when you're in the middle of the day, and then when you're again looking at it at nighttime or whatever. So he wrote a program that went 100 years forward and 100 years backwards to get the extreme sizes of the sun and moon as viewed from Earth. And maximum size of moon in degrees 0.559 and minimum 0.490. And then for the sun, maximum 0.54 and minimum 0.52. So,
Guys view.
Well, hello.
A fellow droney.
How's it going?
Yep.
here we are. I'll adjust that a little more. There we go. I hear a little clicking or scratching or something.
Who, me?
Yeah, somebody.
Oh, it's probably my fleece bouncing into my microphone.
The police in your microphone?
Fleece. I'm wearing a fleece jacket.
Okay. So, all right, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what do you do? It seemed to me.
Have to stop that.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold it. I'm gonna hold it out so it's not rubbing.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, don't be a predator, man.
It seemed to me, looking back on it, that he kind of just is going to say everything optical is how it should be if it were flat because of optical effects.
Well, I actually made that comment several times. Was when we were talking about surveyors and you were talking about how the triangle measurements equal out to more than 180 degrees. He's like, well, because the Aether band, it makes it look like it's curved. But all of his observations, he says that it makes it look like it's flat. He can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
Well, the Aether band only does what Travis wants it to do. That's why he refuses to quantify it. It's not that it wouldn't necessarily even be that he can't, or that it would be difficult to do. It's just that he would wind up using our math to do it, and he would wind up with a globe.
Yeah, and of course he can't accept that, so.
It is his pre-selected outcome for all observations. Yeah.
Oh, and then there's the stamina about a laser. Oh my god.
I just wanted to bust out laughing at him, because come on.
I'm sorry, I actually missed that part. What exactly did you say with that?
He was saying,
laser light is stronger and has more stamina than regular light.
Yes, it will travel farther because it's a laser.
No, it won't curve as much because of it.
There's that.
You know what that reminds me of? You see that one Cool Hard Logic video? I think it's his testing flat earthers, the 5th one. And he's like, so what happens it shows like the horizon from like the side view, and like what happens at this point? Like, what does light do? Does it just give up?
Well, I'd actually like to point to Slice Barkane's one of his videos where he was actually measuring the refractive index of a laser on a wall. And the way he did it was he had a curved surface that he was using between him and the target of the wall. And the wall had spackle on it. And I invite Travis to actually look at this video very carefully, because the spackle is going to reflect the regular light, while the laser beam will, of course, show the stamina and the strength of the laser structure. But when Sly actually pours liquid butane over the middle ground where he's wanting to cause refraction, not only does the laser go down, but so does the spackle on the wall just as much. So it's not being affected. It's one of those subtle things that he didn't catch.
Yeah. Huh.
Well, and I wonder, maybe it's because, like, when you have, like, really focused and, like, powerful laser beams, like, just, like, for consumer use, so that can, like, pop balloons and light matches and stuff. I wonder if he thinks maybe that's why they're stronger.
Oh my god.
I don't know, but if he didn't collimate at that 9 miles, QuickMath says that the cone would be 160 feet wide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you're seeing the light,
everywhere.
but you're not seeing the source. So it's two different things.
Yeah. Well, it's like I was saying in the chat earlier, because I'm not sure about you guys in the States, but in Canada, our highways suck. As in, we have street lights on the highways, like stoplights, because our highways are just great like that. And so if I'm on the highway at nighttime, and like let's say there's an intersection, a ways, like a far way down the highway, I can see the green or the red light from the street lights. But if it was daytime, I would not be able to see like the post and the actual the case for the housing for the light and all that.
Oh,
Well, it's like if we're driving down a hill, on the hill, a road, and that's out in the country and it's long and straight and it basically goes up and down. You can see cars' headlights before you even see the fucking car just because of the light and how it comes to the air. Yeah. You get the same effect in the desert.
Yeah.
And that's also speaking towards his misunderstanding of light, and he made the claim that light is just instantly everywhere. Laser measuring devices.
Speed of light is
I've actually done.
How's that?
I've actually done 2 videos with a laser measuring device showing that light is timed, which means it actually has a travel time, which is how they work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or did you see that one video with what's it called? The slow-mo bros? Was the slow-mo guys? Where they had that camera with the I forget the frame rate, but it was extremely high, and you could actually see the light travel through like a liquid or.
Oh yeah.
Oh, where they show? Oh wait, no, that's not the one I'm thinking of. There was another one. There was femto photography.
He has a TED Talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they showed essentially what could have been considered a photon traveling through a Coke bottle.
So what John Rapp for 5 Australians says, so sorry MC Toon working away and got stuck with Beaver and Dick Dawson. They had I had a little bit of John Rapp. I had a little bit of technical problems, but not nearly as much as Brainy Beaver did. So look forward to the replay. Presumptuous, but hit the like button before I know. Confident. So yes, he hit the like button already. Thank you.
Plain Truth was a truck driver, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he doesn't think that light travels or it's a thing.
He didn't. Yeah, we didn't get into what he thinks light is. He just said it. He doesn't agree with the speed of light.
I'll guarantee as a truck driver, as he's driving down the fucking road and he finds out there's a cop out there with a LiDAR, I guarantee he slows down.
Yes, he does.
Oh, did you find it there?
Yeah.
But see, lasers, guys, just to counter what he's probably going to say, lasers might be stronger and more and have more stamina, but they travel slower.
You should have him get with a cop and have the cop's laser hit the truck and see if it slows him down any.
All right. So
yeah, and so what they do in this is obviously they start off at a slower frame rate, then they get higher and higher. And at the end of the video, for 10 trillion, you can see the light move. It's really cool. And wouldn't you know it, it moves exactly as fast as people predict it to move. Weird how that works.
It's weird.
If he thinks lasers are so powerful, then how come on a tank range the tanks can't fire when the fog is out because the lasers can't see the targets downrange? They basically they call it the range goes cold until the fog blows away because the lasers can't penetrate the fog to hit the target.
Oh, but that's not fog. That's max refraction.
Oh, that's right. I keep fucking me. I'm sorry.
Your Dan the Waterman there,
and the Aether band and a bunch of other words.
I like how he calls it the Aether band when he just can say atmosphere, but he has to say ether just to make it sound more mystical and unknown. But ether already has kind of a soft, fluffy definition that they use.
Well, and the thing is too, you have to use bigger, sciencey sounding words to make it seem more believable. Like, who was it? Was it Joey? Is it pronounced Rocha or Rocha?
Rocha.
Okay, so when you were speaking to Joey Rocha, I think it was the first time. And you were talking about the Michelson-Morley experiment, and he was saying that the ether was air.
Yeah, he didn't understand it. He thought that he knew. Oh, that was so great. He thought that like he didn't read it. He heard somebody else say it proves ether and that the Earth is stationary. So he's like, he cited it.
Yeah. I know, because I was listening to that because if whoever doesn't know, I also drive a truck for a living, so it embarrasses me to see people like that when they do that. But I was.
Do you use GPS?
No, but I use Google Maps. So, and I know that with my odometer, someone said he said that the odometer was a computer, and I guess NASA lies to make it to tell you you're going a certain distance when you aren't. I mean,
wait, who said that?
What?
That's what someone was saying in the side chat earlier with the Plain Truth, because I said he's a truck driver, then I said a swear, I'm not going to say it here. He's a truck driver. Would he not realize that his odometer matches exactly what Google Maps or Apple Maps or any map tells him? Because one thing I know is if I'm going 100 kilometers an hour and I'm going to a town that's 100 kilometers away, it's going to take me an hour to get there, and the map tells me that. And that's a map that's based off the globe.
Yeah. GPS is correct unless you can show evidence that it's not. It's correct, right? And generally they don't, because you can't argue that.
Well,
Right?
here's a funny question I used to ask flat earthers all the time. You know, when I worked at Walmart, I used to walk to work most of the time. I'd walk there, walk back. It's 3 miles away. It would take me an hour to walk there. How fast am I walking? And 100% of the time, they would get it wrong.
Let me look it up in here. Hold on. He could find out by checking his speedometer.
Yeah.
Wait, you better find a triangle calculator for that one too.
Sean, I have a triangle with sides of 1, 1, and 1. What are the internal angles?
Let me check my right angle calculator.
It depends how much ether's in the middle. I can't calculate without ether calculations.
Oh, and
Is it 3?
Actually, somewhat on the topic of Travis's Aether band, he came up with the term Aether band, not knowing that the term luminiferous Aether was even a thing. He came at Flat Earth directly coming out of his very special interpretation of the Bible. So he chose the Greek term Aether, meaning from the breath or the air within the heavens. So that's where that came from.
Ah.
Well, I'm just happy to see that the chat is smarter than every flat earther out there.
Well, and the best too was when they first asked Anthony Riley that, and then he had to pull his triangle calculator, and then after that he's like, "Well, no, either you're wrong or the calculator's wrong." It's like, what?
Well, Anthony's having a hard time to figuring out what 5 divided by 0 is. So,
Plus, like MC2 said earlier, he still owes him 2 ice creams.
Okay. Let me try to explain this in the simplest way possible for Anthony. There are 5 people in the room. You are one of them. You have 5 apples. How do you divide those 5 apples between the 5 people in the room? Go.
For those who haven't seen it, I highly recommend going over to Flat Earth Mathematics on Troll versus Troll.
I totally screwed that. How do you divide those 5 apples between no people in the room, even though there's 5 of you?
Oh, that's the divide by 0.
Yes, the divide by 0 error.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, what I would say is, to heck with fruit. I want a burger. Throw the apples in the garbage. Let's go get a greasy burger.
Ice cream.
He doesn't eat burgers, man. He just gets straight buckets of lard.
Riley seems to think if you divide by 0, you're actually destroying the apples.
So, all right, this book I found. I got. Speaking of, well, we aren't speaking of Oakley until I say it now. We're speaking of Oakley. There's a question in here. To change centimeters to meters, you.
oh jeez.
Oh God. This again.
You take out the centi.
Hey, that's a better answer than Nathan Oakley gave.
So
yeah, but if you told Nathan to take out the centi, he'd be like, well, "Why do I got to take out a centipede for?"
You can't divide a smaller number to get a bigger number.
Oh man.
I bet Nathan thinks centi means centipede.
Yes.
Yeah, he's like, what? A meter with 100 legs? What?
And he's so close to Europe too. It's just amazing.
I would really like to ask him one time, which is more, a centimeter or a millimeter? A million.
That would actually be. Oh, that'd be good. Yeah. Or better yet, a millimeter or a meter. Because once again, a meter is just a meter, but a millimeter, that's a million meters.
It is a million meters.
And a million meters is what? A kilometer? That's how it works, right?
So you're telling me millimeters or kilometers? I like it.
Yeah, as long as it has the word meter in it. That's
a kilometer's murder, man. Stop.
Yeah, when you kill a meter.
Nathan's probably taking notes in the background right now, right?
Yeah, he should. So
Hi, Anthony.
Let's see. Oh, Jose is the death of Flat Earth is imminent. 4 channels to go. 200 episodes is enough for them to bring positive evidence. 4 episodes.
Jose,
yeah.
I've been waiting 5 years for a single piece of positive evidence for Flat Earth.
I've been waiting since the mid '90s.
Yeah. So at the best, Travis has measurements that would work for either, because stuff is still obstructed bottom up. So he has one topic that's we see far over, right over the water. That's it. I'm like, so what else do you have? Well, we see too far over water. Therefore, it's flat. That's all he had.
That's why I like my drone image. I get away from all that pesky water, and I got a nice valley between me and the mountains in the distance, so the ground basically drops out.
Did you catch his cop out though?
Oh yeah.
It was, if there's that much over short distances, there's going to be so much more over long distances.
Yeah, it's moving the goalposts just so he can't admit that it's just not flat.
Yeah.
It's no matter what you say, he's going to have a way to wiggle his way out of it, just by changing definitions or usages of words.
That's super chat. I forgot about that.
Yeah. You want to read that?
No, that's all you, Toon. You got a better speaking voice.
All right. Oh, well, thanks. RT96 for $5 says, Barney asked Travis, does a kilo of lead... Oh, my God. Does a kilo of lead have the same mass as a kilo of feathers? Travis says, no, they're made of different stuff.
He actually said
God.
that?
Wow.
He actually said that.
Well, that's actually hearkening to an old childhood trick question from like grade school. Which weighs more, a ton of feathers or 2,000 pounds of lead?
Yeah, but if you're asking that without, think to say a 5-year-old child and not really thinking about it, of course they're just going to say, oh, well, lead weighs more than feathers. But when you're talking to a grown man and you're giving the measurements...
Well, I'm just pointing out the fact that a grown man is failing at a childhood trick question.
Yeah, we know. That's why I used to use this one a long time ago on street flat earthers.
Right. Travis is so close to qualifying for being on the list for
No, I don't think so.
DF. I can't acronym.
There are much better candidates. If he might get an honorable mention, that's about it.
Yeah, see,
that
guy and
being on a list and being a contender,
and Write the Hand, I think they beat him hands down. Right.
Write the Hand, honest to God, said out loud, and I think he believes it, that he thinks the heart does not pump blood. He thinks that it is an interrupter, and that the intestines are what pumps blood.
Oh,
yeah, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Who said that?
Write the Hand.
Oh,
yeah,
good Lord.
As a combat veteran, yeah, it doesn't work like that.
Well, it's on Twitter. So let me find it on Twitter.
Oh, and Fred Knotts, no, he did leave cordially. He had other obligations. Karaoke.
Yeah, Travis isn't known for rage quitting. I'll give him that.
No, he was very polite.
It's rare when he rage quits, and that's usually when things get really heated with like 20 people on Jose's panels.
Yeah.
I noticed when he started getting stuck, he started going into like almost pre-scripted monologues about you can't trust anything. It's all just a program. It's all the usual flat earther fluff stuff.
Yeah. All right,
his defense for that
it's just a mathematical construct. You can't trust it because of this and that. But hold on, you can trust my pictures and my measurements and my observations. Is somehow the ether band doesn't affect my stuff, but you can't account for it because you don't understand it.
Well, actually, that goes back to me calling him out for. That goes back to me calling him out for him saying that when surveyors do it, the Earth looks curved because of the ether band, but when my observations, the ether band says that it looks flat. They are both mutually exclusive. You can't have both.
Well, that's why Travis's actual position is so much more insidious than that. You can't use anything you have because there could potentially be something in the way. I can use what I have, but because I'm not telling you to believe what I have, I'm saying I feel this way, so I don't have to validate my claims because they're my belief and not yours.
Well, it's basically the flat earthers claim about airplane windows. A globe earther can look at an airplane window and go, "Oh, look, I can see lateral curve left to right." And the flat earther will say, well, you're seeing curve because the window's curved on the outside, you're seeing curve. But a flat earther will look through that same window and go, look, flat horizon.
Yeah.
It's the same concept.
Yeah.
All right, here is Right the Hand / Chris Zielinski's Twitter. Oh, the heart doesn't pump blood. There is not way a pump the size of your fist pumps 2,000 gallons of blood a day. No capital letter. The capillaries would create tremendous resistance being so small. Blood moves about its own accord, possibly from magnetism.
Okay, that's a different one than I saw.
DFOTY right there. See? That beats
First off,
Travis easy.
I didn't realize that he was only an expert on everything to do with physics, but now he's an expert to do with the human body and biology too.
I want to see him. I want to see him go down to a junkyard where there's one of those electromagnets and have them energize it while it's just sitting on the ground and have him stand on it and see if all the blood pools at its feet.
Yeah,
But don't
plus,
worry, Fred. I know he's an admitted troll.
just-
I was on the board that it happened, that he admitted everything.
Just want to jump in and say hello, guys. I've had a drink. For every time you mentioned Aether band, I am now slaughtered.
How are you still conscious?
Ether band.
Oh, drink. Cheers.
why are you guys doing this to him? Why?
It's
Just trying to finish him off. So how's the Ether band?
It's Southern Comfort. It's all right. It's not that bad.
That'd actually be a great contest. We put up 2 hours of Travis and 2 hours of Pete Shea, and we had to figure this. And you drink every time. We get 2 people of equal ability to drink, and they have to drink each time. Travis says Ether band, or Pete Shea says Aristarchus. We'll see who comes out drunker.
Oh, that's a hard one.
I don't think
That's a
I've ever
competition
actually,
right there.
Well, maybe you should take that to the Flat Earth Conference. Maybe you should try that on one of their novelty nights.
I still think that MC2 is going to be held at the door and said he can't be allowed to enter.
Yeah,
If anybody's gonna have trouble, it might be Team Skeptic a little more than me. I'm thinking.
No, I don't think so.
No.
You even say anything that mentions globe, you're out.
Yeah, but
Come on, haven't you guys heard of disguises?
Yeah, get the glasses with the nose and the mustache.
big, huge mustaches and beards.
They're not very
You know-
smart.
Big.
It would probably fool them.
but
Just go dressed
Tune,
as
there-
women. That would trigger them.
Yeah, Tune, there actually is a flat earther that somewhat resembles you. You could go as
who?
McFlatty.
Oh, that dummy? No,
Would that be
Just get-
MC Flatty?
no, that guy's horrible. He's-
Yeah,
just get you one of those. The Bible says the Earth is flat T-shirts and a flat Earth medallion from D Marble, and you're in like Flynn.
there you go.
No, you missed the joke where people were at one time calling you McToon.
Yeah.
And you constantly correct them, and I'm saying, if it's McFlatty, then it must be MC Flatty.
I got you.
Yes. Actually, in Craig's video that came out today, he that I was in on chemtrails. He actually listed in his description MC with a lowercase c, like it's Mick. Like he lives in Scotland. He can't not do the lowercase c.
Well, here's a fun fact dealing with that video, actually. If you go to that video, you'll see that YouTube has arbitrarily placed a fact underneath the video before it gets to the tags and the description and everything else, talking about contrails.
Yeah.
So YouTube has flagged his video as conspiracy nuttery about chemtrails and given a definition below it without his permission.
Yep.
I dare you to walk up to the back door and say, and they go, "Who are you?" And you just go, "Well, I'm on MC," and that's when they put you in charge of all the audio.
Oh.
Couldn't you get like a temporary job at the conference area? Just like serving drinks and stuff, and just talking to people at the bar and just undermining them.
I like all the footage. I like all the footage of the those conventions when it comes out later, like some guy who really doesn't know much about flat Earth goes in there and actually records just how very few people there are and how much is just crazy in the whole the booth section where there's people just trying to sell their little lights that go around the frisbee disc and all that stuff. Yeah.
Well, and
I like all
actually,
the background stuff.
I know there's quite a large gathering of people going, why don't you also club together and go to Flat Earth 101 and get like a set of their billboards and set up it outside and just like rip the shit out of them using their own billboards.
Yeah.
Well, I see the Flat Earth conference that was supposed to be on the cruise ship got canceled. So.
Oh, did?
As far as I know.
Of course it did.
Wait a second.
There's no way they could possibly be on a boat using GPS to navigate.
I was gonna say, like, if you're a flat earther, you don't want to be on a boat in the middle of nowhere because you're gonna have to use some kind of navigation, and only one kind's gonna work.
I wonder if they would raid the bridge and like, let me see your gyro compass. That's not real. That's NASA. They probably open it and look for the NASA tag.
Yeah.
It'd be a mutiny. They would kick off the all the people that work on the boat and all that, and then they would get lost at sea.
I wouldn't be at all surprised if it got cancelled because someone said, "Hey, NASA, they got U-boats,
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, if they put it on, one of those cruise ships, it wouldn't even be a convention. It'd be more like, well, the cruise ship is going to be going over here doing its thing, and if everybody just wants to meet up, and we'll just do something in one of the side rooms, or meet up on the pool deck, and we'll point at the pool in the back and look, flat water as it sloshes back and forth.
Well,
everybody gets all excited.
They could probably have that conference.
They didn't want their cell phones to stop working, but GPS on their phones still work. They didn't want to face that.
I was just going to say they could probably have their conference in one of the jacuzzis.
They could probably have it in the bottom of the pool, as far as I care.
Well, you guys, you know what? The reason that they would get they would get GPS signals is because GPS signals are they have more stamina than other signals.
I'll guarantee you, if you put a bunch of flat earthers on a cruise ship with a pool, and you told them that you could smell a scratch and sniff sticker on the bottom of the pool, half of them would drown.
So the plain truth, he must be listening. He says gyro compasses are souped up gyroscopes, and
no.
It's spinning, but it uses the precession, right, to align itself north south. How does it align itself north south? That's the question.
Uh-oh.
What makes that happen?
Ether band.
The ether band.
Drink.
Yeah. Mandelbrot directly after gyro compasses just have more stamina than gyro compasses have more stamina than gyroscopes.
Oh no, you know why? It's because the gyro compasses have Gatorades. It's what gyro compasses crave.
Well, I always like it when flat earthers bring up the gyroscope, and they always forget about the pendulous vanes that does the automatic correction for gravity and all that stuff. So.
Yep. Well, and I saw somebody say the optical gyroscopes spin. It was on Facebook. Yeah, they think it spins, and then they just say optical gyroscopes prove flat Earth. Like, sorry.
Yeah, that's 15, like Gary, trolling the chat.
Yeah, 15 degrees per hour, Bob.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I did a video last week because this was great because Globebusters did this and they claimed that this guy calculating distances using the Gleason's map was a genius. And of course all the numbers are wrong. So like nothing is right. And then so I have a follow-up to that coming where I use their numbers. I'm not going to give it away, but I use the actual implication of that to create the official Globebusters and Rob Skiba Flat Earth map. So
I just like it.
Maybe this week.
I just like it. People who bring the flat earthers who do bring up Gleason's map never go to the patent to read about what the thing is supposed to be, and that whole thing at the top. This is scientifically accurate and blah blah blah. Yeah,
as a clock.
It's a clock. It's accurate for being a clock. It has nothing to do about, getting your way around the Earth because, I always say, the scale, a mile in Australia is the same. It should be the same distance as a mile in the United States. So, or say 500 miles. So get a little piece of string, measure 500 miles in the United States, and take that same piece of string down to say Australia, and then stretch it out for which would be 500 miles, and see if it's actually 500 miles. It doesn't work like that.
You could just do it in a car.
See,
Yeah.
is that your $100,000 winning model, or what's left of it?
What's that?
Your,
Are you asking me?
your award-winning model.
Yeah, on the wall.
Behind your left shoulder.
This is hold on. Yeah,
That's it.
That's two of the three of the triangles of the flat out hero. That I won with.
You should have that bronzed.
Yes.
I have one more.
Do you not find it fascinating that so many flat earthers still go to Google Earth for evidence to present their evidence?
That's how you identify a puddle, man.
And it's just I just find it hilarious.
Well, I'm looking at that. I was sorry.
I just like it was almost like a year ago that flat earthers were on this whole trip about you can't use Wikipedia for this, Wikipedia for that. Then all of a sudden, for the last couple months, it's been nothing but Wikipedia articles from flat earthers.
Yeah, and one thing I've always been curious about as well is with the Gleason's map or any of the AE projections with Australia. Has there never been one person living in Australia that decided to go from coast to coast and then been extremely pissed when they ran out of gas and it took more than 2 times as long as they thought it would?
I always use the example of when it comes to distance in the south. Like I try and stay away from the whole width of Australia and the distance between Chile and Australia and all that jippy jazz. I always go from Argentina the Falkland Islands to the the South Georgian Islands, or otherwise known as the Sandwich Islands, and that distance. They can't get around that because nobody flies a jet to the Sandwich Islands. They have to take a boat, and that boat takes a certain amount of time going at a certain amount of speed. You can actually track them.
Yeah. Yep. So, I was talking with a guy wrote Billy Zig wrote The Elusive Curve, a book. It's on Amazon. And I wrote a review of it after reading the preview. I was a little not nice as I usually am, and I've amended it since then. And I've talked to him for a while, and we've had a good chat. But he's in Australia, right? He lives in Melbourne. I'm like, how's that work, right? He's like, well, I don't believe in a map. You just cop out. Come on, people get around. Somehow people get around. So let's see. I took, here. I looked up. Oh, that's wrong. I gotta rotate that.
People have been looking at maps for ages. Just get better and better.
Well, that's the funny thing. If the Earth was actually flat, mapping would be so easy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, a mile in the northern hemisphere should match a mile in the southern hemisphere. But somehow it kind of breaks down when you get south of the pesky equator.
So here is... Yeah. So I found some geodetic surveying information on Australia. I haven't yet found like that one that I have of the entire United States with all the spherical excess, but this one was pretty cool. This is like the last page of the book, and this is all their maps. So you can see here down at the bottom. Let me zoom in even more. I can't get right. So they have these these different rectangles, and then these little slices that as you go farther up, there's missing stuff. You see that? Somehow, and I'm sorry if you guys in the chat, if you're not seeing this, but everybody else at home is, I think. But there's these gaps where these little sections of the map don't line up, and then you get up to a certain level of latitude, and then they realign everything. If it was flat and like expanding like the Gleason map, it would be going first in the opposite direction. Or a rectangular maybe, but no, they actually reverse the angle from the northern hemisphere.
Well, that goes back to the old question that many people have asked flat earthers, like, what's the difference between say you're at 40 degrees latitude and you're going from 0 to 1 degree longitude. What's the distance there? And doing the same thing at the equator, and then doing the same thing at 40 degrees south latitude. And the distances just don't match up for a flat Earth of any shape.
Yeah.
Nope. Oh, did you catch that whole thing with Plain Truth when he talked about the equator, that he wasn't going to accept the distance of the equator unless somebody physically like walked the equator with a tape measure? But hold on here. But here's the double standard. When he does his things across the Chesapeake Bay and all this stuff, he's talking about 9-10 miles. He'll accept those distances, even though he personally hasn't taken a tape measure and measured 10 miles.
That's a good one.
With a tape measure. But he'll accept those measurements, or that kind of distance. But when it comes to the circumference of the Earth, all those other pesky kind of measurements, that just doesn't work for him.
I would love to see him swim the Chesapeake.
Instead of Rambling Man, it's Double Standard Man?
No, until he's willing to swim the Chesapeake, he needs to shut up about measuring the equator.
Yeah, or how about, now not necessarily Travis, but with other flat earthers, they'll say, oh, well, the sun's 5,000 kilometers above the Earth. And it's like, so you've never measured that, obviously. No one has. But for us, we have to physically take a tape measure to the sun from the Earth. But for you guys, you can just say it's that distance, and you're fine with that.
Well, because they can get away with that point of saying, well, we're not actually measuring the distance of the sun because we don't know what it is. We'd be measuring a distance to something that we assume is an apparition of the sun.
True, or an interdimensional portal.
I was just about to say that.
But back to the whole map sheets and stuff, like our maps. When down there at McMurdo, because it's a Navy base, we use MGRS maps for pretty much everything. The scientists go down there and they use Latin long. But when it comes time for us contractors who have to go out and work at these remote sites with these people, we do all the preparatory stuff to get how much equipment, how much food, water, equipment, all this stuff, and we go up on the tables in these office areas. We take these big MGRS map sheets and we just lay them on the table. We kind of tape them together. So okay, we're going to be here, we're going to be going over here, but all those map sheets, they everything converges to the South Pole. Nothing spreads out. All your Latin long lines, all those things converge. So it doesn't spread out. So when you're using a map sheet, you use like maybe if you're traversing, say, the Ross Ice Shelf, you might be, if you're using a 1/50,000 MGRS map, you might have like 6 or 7 map sheets all taped together. But when you spread it up on a table, everything starts kind of curving to a particular point, which is the South Pole. Nothing spreads out. The sheets don't spread out. They all curve, or not curve, but they all, the sheets converge. Do curve to the middle.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Travis has given us a correction from the chat. He says that he didn't say use a tape measure. No, Travis, what you said was, has anybody physically measured it?
And then you suggested a yardstick.
Yeah, well, and like I said, too, I wasn't saying that he necessarily said that himself. I'm saying flat earthers in general always expect us to, physically measure the distance between celestial bodies for some reason. I just use a tape measure as just an example. That's why
Travis, you can't use any measurements across the Chesapeake unless you swim the Chesapeake with a big long rope behind you. That's our standard.
No, it's his standard. Right? I'll take those measurements by GPS, but Travis, you can't unless you're going to also accept all other GPS measurements. So people in the chat are saying you did say yardstick, Travis, so I don't recall, but
regardless, you said some sort of physical measurement.
Yeah.
That's all I was saying.
And he kept harping on it too. How have you measured this? How has it been measured? And you know exactly where he was going to, because MC2 wasn't going down that little rabbit hole of, well, you can't know anything unless you physically walked this, or you can't know the depth. You can't know the depth of the ocean unless you swim down to the bottom with a tape measure. You can't know the distance to the sun unless you ran a tape measure to it. It doesn't work like that. And you can find the distance to the equator just by simply watching on ships trackers of how many watching ships cross the equator. You don't have you don't have to have this one continuous thing. You can pick multiple sources, and I even told MC Toon in the side chat, bring up that ping test that they did for the Earth's radius.
Oh yeah, the computer ping test. So here's if you look at the history of it, Travis, and I see Chris Berry here too. The longitude is about the offset from here. I'm hearing my echo a little bit. But the offset from Greenwich Mean Time, right, the GMT, so that's how they determine the lines of longitude, and they're different depending on your latitude. So an accurate timepiece is necessary, a chronograph they would use, and you'd go to a certain location, and then you knew what time it was in London because you had, or Greenwich, you had your chronograph. And so you'd say, okay, well, sunrise was at this time, or sunset, or some other celestial observation, and you'd offset that from the Greenwich time. That's how you get your longitude. And then you can go a distance east or west, whatever, and you can do the same thing, and you can find out how far it is, and then find out your longitude from it. That's how you measure those things. They did that. It's all been done long time ago.
The story of the whole longitude issue back in the day, when they had the who was it? Was it the Royal? God, I can't remember who it was now. But there was like a competition to determine longitude safely and correctly, and the whole story is absolutely fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
Oh, shout out to Chris Berry in the chat talking about a video that has a picture in it with where the guy circled a dead pixel and claimed it was a lighthouse. Somebody's already done a little bit of a breakdown on it, and he would not be looking at 81 degrees like he said he would be. He would be looking off the island by about a mile. So he's circled a dead pixel.
Was this? He was saying there was a 325 mile photo from 3,000 feet high. Is that the one you're talking about?
It's literally a dead pixel that someone circled and claimed was a lighthouse 325 miles away.
Wow. Well, Chris Berry, as soon as you rectify the surveyor information, you go right ahead and talk about that stuff. But
Travis is asking for a timestamp where he said that. The problem with that is that's still part of this existing live stream, so we can't give you a timestamp. But after it's over, I'll be glad to pull the clip for you and give it to MC.
There you go. Yeah, because I think we all remember him saying that.
Yeah, I don't think it doesn't matter. He was demanding a physical measurement, and
yeah, you can even tell, what MC caught on to what was what Plain Truth was trying to do, because he's like, I'm not falling for that straw man, and he just kept ignoring it, and he kept trying to. Physically, it's the same old thing. You don't know it unless you physically walk the distance or you took a tape measure. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Which I find very funny. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to say, I find it very funny because when I go somewhere that I haven't been before, and I use, again, Google Maps or anything like that, I've never physically measured it, but it always adds up, and it tells me where I'm going, and it tells me how to get there every time.
Also, didn't Spurs pull down that video because he got beaten up so bad?
That was Spurs?
Probably.
I see. I can't. So there's Spurs and Pete Shea. Like, I just can't listen to them. Like, if they're on anywhere, I'm off.
Spurs is an absolute Poe. He's literally trolling everybody. This has been proven time and time again. I won't give him the time of day anymore. He's just not worth it.
Sean, isn't that all we're left with now in the flat Earth?
Pretty much. I mean, you've got Riley, who's using citations that debunk himself when you actually go past his cherry picks.
Yeah.
You got Spurs, who just makes stuff up off the top of his head just to keep the argument going. You've got Oakley, who's actually admitted the Earth is a globe, and that we keep presenting him globe proof, but he's like telling people not to bring it up because it destroys flat Earth. You've got the Jaronism, the Bob Nodals, who've gone out and proven that the Earth is curved, but they got to worry about their money income
and rotating.
Yeah, and rotating. Thank you, Bob.
because the reason why I'm here in this chat, I mean, I've been in a few hangouts and a few chats because this is my swan song with flat Earth. I really just about run out of patience with flat Earth, and I don't know, Sean, how you can keep putting up with it, but I'm just about done. And all I can see are like new people coming along. There's very, very few people, actually willing to talk or debate or discuss. On Jose's channel, you got like these few people just new people that randomly turn up. Like Plain Truth, he's not been around for very long, but he's just like turned up.
Travis has been around for a while.
Has he? Well, I've not seen it, but
Yeah,
it's like another Nathan Thompson. And
if you want to go back and listen to it, Travis, it's at -129 for right now. I'm sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
That's all right. Negative. Don't give him negative numbers.
There are no such thing as negative numbers. You can't have a negative number in a video. So clearly, the flat Earth proof right there.
See, the thing is, you do have these flat earthers who try their best to, well, I suppose bring some reality to the conversation. That's a ridiculous statement. But then you have people like Zoom Truth. I mean, you know of him, Sean, don't you?
Oh yeah. I've only known him because of his interaction with Psystrike.
Yeah, he just won't even look at any evidence. He's not interested in any evidence. He's not interested in trying to discuss it. The Earth is flat. The Earth is flat. The government is against you, and everything is a lie.
Well, this is why I didn't even consider Zoom Truth as being anything serious, is because when Psystrike actually met him on the pier in person, he was talking about P900 observations, and Psystrike's like, well, I have a P900. I can go home and be back here in 20 minutes. And he immediately says, oh, you don't need to do that. We don't need to see anything from that. So
I remember that video, yeah.
Also, I think it was George Chinook. Sorry if I bastarded that name. But he also wanted to take him out and do like, theodolite kind of observations and try to, show him. But he's just not interested. But his channel, I think, is going to start growing, whereas the others are dying, because he just wants to create an army, and he literally calls it an army now. And he's trying to gather people to, and he's created a whole social media site with called the Flat Earth People Finder, so they can all gather and meet. And they're talking about like putting up links for like NASA videos, and they're all just going to like storm the chat in mass.
Just a second, Travis. When MC Toon was talking about, the size of the equator and its circumference, you literally discounted it by saying nobody's ever physically measured it. So we have no idea to know. So yes, you are saying that somebody has to physically do it themselves. Otherwise, you won't accept it. Just addressing that point. Sorry.
Yeah, don't say something when it's being recorded and then say you didn't say it. Not a good idea.
No, sorry. Just to finish my point. That's all right, Sean. But my point is, it's quite interesting that the conversations with Flat Earthers are dying. You say Flat Earth is dying. It's not really dying. It's just the conversations with Flat Earth are dying. So now you're just going to get like belligerent Flat Earthers who aren't even going to listen, but they're just going to keep going and going and going out onto the street, evangelizing and talking shit.
Well, I think that my channel really reflects that, because, I don't like to debunk something that's already been debunked by other people. I try to do my best to avoid doing that because, it's beating a dead horse to me at that point. I haven't made a good Flat Earther video for like a month because there's nothing new coming out. It's stuff that has already been debunked so many times over the last 5 years. I either had the choice of rehashing something that I've personally already debunked or something that somebody else has already debunked.
You could
absolutely.
Sean, you could always go over Nathan Thomas's new claim that training your brain with flat Earth material makes you grow an inch taller and turns you into a super athlete with muscles of steel. To where orthopedic surgeons tell you that you're in better shape than professional athletes.
I hope you're kidding.
See, on the flip side of that, Sean, I find it hysterical. Excuse me. I find it hysterical that Flat Earthers say you don't bring anything new to the argument. Well, no. Because it's the fucking globe. There isn't anything new. We're not making up new shit to prove the globe. The globe is there. It's always been there, and we're telling you how we figured it out. And it's like, oh no, you're not bringing anything new to the argument. Oh.
Yeah, it's like no. Guess what? In science, scientists are way past that. They're not going to waste their time figuring out what's already been figured out.
Yeah,
it's like what new do you need? Like Okay, we
so
can.
here,
We could. Sorry.
so
When
here
I
I
was
have.
Google Earth.
If I can just add to support to the, that they're not interested in exploring things. They've decided they have a religious belief about it, and any evidence is dismissed because their religious belief trumps evidence. And so here is the Flat Out Truth and No Balls Face Lies group on Facebook that I
What a
joined.
name.
I joined recently using one of my not accounts that you know of. And right here, no pseudo-globe propaganda is rule number 1. Post claiming globe is correct or posting refutations of flat plane without empirical evidence will be deleted. Like they don't care, right? And this without empirical evidence, they're just going to reject it all.
When I was dealing with flat earthers back in the 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000, back in those days before the internet was even a thing, it was flat earth was nothing more than a table on Hollywood Boulevard or down there on the boardwalk of Venice Beach or down there on Santa Monica Pier, and their table was pretty much plastered with nothing but photocopies of Zetetica or whatever you want to call it.
Earth, not a globe.
That they went down to the local library and just made black and white copies and stuck them all over the place. And then that's what they're trying to sell. And back then it was exactly the same kind of arguments that they were doing then that they're doing now. Now it's just a little bit more fancy. Now they got the graphics and now they got the pictures that they've taken with their cameras. And that's exactly the same kind of arguments. It hasn't changed at all. It's the same mantras. It's the same, you can't trust anything but us. And then they're really not as big or as strong as they think they are. When I retired from the Army and I was working at Goldstone over in California, I had to make runs over to JPL because we had equipment in JPL that I had to service and maintain and stuff like that. And I also had a locker and equipment there also. So I would go over there maybe twice a week on the weekends or when I had to do the work. And every once in a while you would see these couple flat earther protesters sitting out the front gate of JPL. But it was pretty much they just had their banners and stuff, and then they would try to video as you drive in, and then they would yell. They would just scream and yell that Earth is flat, and then eventually they get tired and their voices would go out. Then they get kind of quiet for a while. Then they go get something to eat and come back and yip and yap for a little bit of a while, then disappear in the evening.
Travis is asking us to go to his channel and disprove his thesis.
See, here's the difference, though. I mean, on YouTube, when you're having debates and you're discussing, and you get into open discussions like on Jose's channel, whatever, and you're talking to flat earthers, you're talking to them one-to-one. But then these bastards go out on the street and jump on unsuspecting people who don't know the flipping arguments, who don't know their rhetoric and don't know how to respond to it because they've got it down pat to ask the questions in the right way to really fucking confuse
That's
the
why,
public.
yeah.
We can see straight through it.
Mark
Family
Sargent
friendly.
won't debate a debater. He'll only debate people that have never debated before because he can ask questions that are not ready for.
Yeah, and on top of that, you can phrase them in certain ways where it's difficult to respond unless you know exactly what they're talking about, because if you say something, they'll come right back at you with like, oh, well, how do you know? Or have you done it yourself kind of thing. And if you're not prepared for that, if you're a normal, rational thinking person, you're not going to think to ask them back the exact same way and say, oh, well, how do you know this? Because most people don't argue like that.
I do love it. I do love it on some of their videos on the Street Evangelist ones. Sorry guys for you. I do love it when you do actually find like some member of the public who just suddenly catches them out and fucking nails them to the floor.
It's like when they have their arguments are say like atmosphere and space and all that stuff, and they will always use the word vacuum. And when they say vacuum, they're talking about their grandmother's Hoover they had in the cupboard where it sucks things. But that's not what we mean by, that's not what science and that's not what physics says by when they say vacuum. So flat earthers are playing.
Sorry, but on the street, it goes beyond that. Sometimes they're just telling straightforward fucking lies, just straight outright lies.
Oh, I know. I understand. I'm just trying to say when
the horizon always rises to eye level is a lie.
Yeah, that's a big lie. I'm just trying to say like you hear flat earthers and like, oh, how could you have an atmosphere next to the vacuum of space? But when a flat earther says vacuum, the vacuum of space, to somebody who doesn't understand the argument, they go, well, yeah, that kind of makes sense. A vacuum like sucks my carpet up, so why isn't it sucking up the atmosphere? Well, that's not what vacuum. That's not what vacuum means.
But it's 10 to the negative 17 torr, so of course it's.
Oh yeah, it's
sucking.
It's got the word negative in there.
Yeah, if you want to go with Anthony's little mantra that he's picked up on now, you know, he cites Pascal's law in his most recent video. He actually shows the definition of Pascal's law. And he reads off the first sentence, but he doesn't read the second where it says that Pascal's law does not take into account the weight of the air.
Anthony just likes his cherry picking.
He does.
Yes, but he shows it on screen. It's hilarious. This is what I'm saying that I think that... See, I've been spending the last 3 years trying to figure Anthony out because I make it a habit of reading people.
I was going to ask you about this, Sean. Is he dumb?
No, actually,
or
no.
Is he really, really smart and just a fucking pain in the ass?
He's really smart. I want to classify him as a Poe, but that doesn't quite fit what his motivation is. His motivation, he actually accidentally gave out what it is. He literally wants to be another Samuel Robotham and make it into the history books for being wrong.
Oh, also, on a side note for Anthony Riley, everybody here in the chat who doesn't know, Sleeping Warrior is actually his old sock account when his actually account used to be called Anthony Riley, but when he lost a bet and he had to make things disappear, he got rid of his old account and he went to his sock account that he basically used for like almost a week until it got figured out, and then he basically came out as Anthony Riley on Sleeping Warrior. But Sleeping Warrior Sleeping Warrior is actually Anthony Riley's old sock account, and that's because he lost a bet.
And just to point out, Anthony Riley, if you're listening, if you want to get into the history books of being wrong,
what?
Finish that?
You cut out for me, man.
And just an FYI, this is family friendly.
Yeah. Hey, somebody said Flat Out is the best flat earther. There is a new one called The Conspiracist that is maybe could be as good as Flat Out.
Dun, dun, dun.
I put his channel there in the chat. You all need to go subscribe right now. I'm not kidding. He's got all of 2 videos, but they're fantastic, including bouncing a golf ball on a hammer under a bridge.
Well, if you're a flat earther, you have to do that.
What was that, Sean?
I was just sighing.
Here's a message.
I'm Flat Out.
You should actually sigh a little bit harder because I just realized that Travis is flirting while driving a big rig.
Sorry, I was just wanted to say.
Watch out for LiDAR, Travis.
Anthony Riley, if you can hear me, if you want to be written down in history for being eternally wrong, just marry my wife, and you will be in history books for being eternally wrong.
Rodney Dangerfield humor going on in here.
Get no respect.
Hey, take my wife, somebody, please.
Oh,
Anthony is so stupid it takes him an hour and a half to watch 60 Minutes.
All right, well,
Stop that.
I think we've kind of gone over what we can go over. If anybody,
I'm just getting warmed up.
If anybody has ideas or thoughts for what myself and Team Skeptic and whoever else might be at the conference, Team Skeptic has on his Discord server a channel just for discussing that. There hasn't been a lot on there yet, but what is it called? It's FEIC Dallas Discussion.
I'll just say if you guys get inside the door, I will be eternally impressed.
So, well,
Skeptic has to go dressed as a Twinkie.
We can buy tickets. And
you just get the back of the room with the camera giggling just because you're there.
Take pictures of the background stuff, like how many people are there and how many booths are set up and those kind of things.
Well, I'm sure
that's what they have to do is set up a booth, just having pamphlets about. Have you heard about the Glow Earth before?
So the booth is $850 to have a booth.
Wow.
We thought.
I tell you what. Here's my idea. Just go into your urinals, just stand there and say, "Oh, that looks curved." that water's bending a bit.
Or to
That'd
an
be one
ore
hell of a
first.
way to get thrown out.
Yeah.
Now here's a concern though. If you guys go in there and film anything, are you afraid of getting copyright strikes because they're charging for live streams?
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, it doesn't surprise me actually, not in the least.
I don't think they could actually I don't think those copyrights could stick.
Well, they can't, but I actually fully expect that they'll try.
well, yeah, there are some people that have done spurious copyright strikes that are going to be there.
Oh, that's right.
Like 8
Didn't
of
one
them
of them?
or so?
Didn't one of those folks get kicked out of that organization though?
I still haven't had an official report on what exactly happened to that certain individual yet, but he's no longer a board member. I'll say that.
Yeah, why is Jaren out?
This whole flat Earth convention and being them trying to keep people out. It reminds me of the convention, the UFO conventions from the '80s, where everybody was getting paranoid that the CIA was infiltrating these groups to get da 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 da. It's almost exactly verbatim. And living in the Pacific Northwest back in the early '80s, in the late '80s, it was Bigfoot conventions was a thing, and they had the same kind of thing going on where they were trying to be secretive on who was coming into these conventions because it was all about the CIA and who's tracking who and doing what. It's basically almost the same exact thing.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Somebody posted something in chat. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, but Grand Price. I would actually support that because Mike does have Anthony on speed dial.
And Riley has claimed that he's providing them legal advice.
Yes.
I'll tell you what you do. You just have a bunch of people outside the conference area dressed in black suits with black sunglasses, taking photographs of all the people going in, and the paranoia will just run riot. And there'll never be another conference again.
And just have a cargo van with a satellite dish on the roof.
Just a black van.
And it's just like
FBI van.
And it just
CIA.
says Domino's Pizza on the side or something.
Yeah. Piggly Wiggly.
You and Skeptic have two of the best possible costumes you could do. Skeptic just has to put on a set of dark sunglasses and speak like he's half crazy, and he can go as flat out hero. And you can throw the hoodie on and be McFlatty. It'll be perfect. They'll never know.
I could not pull off McFlatty.
Go find yourself one of those cheap, used church vans, and on one side get some spray paint and write FBI, and on the other right side CIA, and just park at different times, facing different ways to the door. Oh look, it's FBI one day and it's CIA the next day.
No, get dressed to the nines, full tuxedos, sunglasses, and go to a toy store and buy a couple of toy neuralizers.
Oh hell, put Skeptic in a Twinkie suit. They'll never notice.
All right, I'm gonna do a little Jaren and Bob shout out before I wrap it up here. Hold on.
Or just get yourself one of those globes and just cut the hole out of the middle of it like Nathan does. Just put it on top of your head with sunglasses. Just walk right in there, and I guarantee nobody say anything.
Yep,
that's a brilliant idea. That's brilliant.
Well, they won't even ask for a ticket. All right, here we go.
Interesting.
A 15 degree per hour drift.
Interesting.
A 15 degree per hour drift.
Interesting.
A 15 degree per hour drift.
Interesting.
A 15
Simon Dan did 15 minutes of that.
15 degree per hour
And the
drift.
thing, what's so funny about that is how much hell Bob was getting from that whole quote for I don't know how many months it was afterwards. It was like the whole flat Earth community just descended on Bob for that quote, and he's just trying to defend it, and then they just kind of swept it underneath the rug. But it was funny.
He's at the conference.
Well, you don't know what he was measuring. I mean, he's an old man like me. It probably did take him 15 degree an hour. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. But the thing is, though, he said it was measuring the heavenly energies. Does that count as the ether band, or is the ether band a sub measurement?
That's what he was trying to presuppose.
Drink.
Yeah, but is it measuring the? But the thing is, according to Bob, that's the ether. Or is that the ether band? So is the star rotation separate than the ether band of the Earth? How is this measured? And
the ether band is playing at the conference.
It's just that good.
No, that would
it's
just be
being
called
MC by MC Tune.
The band's name is just Aether.
Yeah, but you got MC Tune running the whole mixer, so
Hey, I can do live sound. I've done it. I did 15 years of live sound.
Interesting.
Start playing Ghostbusters or something.
Interesting.
A 15 degree
It's
power
interesting.
drift.
Interesting
A
is right at that
A
time.
15 degree.
I get. Hey, what you need to do is if Bob's there having a discussion or something like that, one of you guys put the on your phone that sound that quote and turn up your sound volume on your phone. Put it on the table and just have somebody call you. Make it your ringtone.
My ringtone. Oh, that's a good ringtone. All right.
Oh, your text tone is just interesting.
I might do that. All right, I gotta get going. Thank you everybody for joining in on the panel. Thank you to Travis for a discussion, a good cordial discussion.
It was cordial.
And thank you to.
I'm looking forward to the mayhem at the conference.
Yes,
I'm looking forward to it.
It should be interesting.
I just want to see pictures of the boot prints.
Of what?
Of the boot prints.
Boot prints.
Because you guys are so getting kicked out.
Oh.
Soon, be really careful of Nathan Thompson. Like, he's looking for a reason to use his muscles of steel to go after a Glober right now.
Just take a couple of really big guys with you.
Yeah.
That rules out team.
Yeah. Well, he could be kept in the pocket. You could just pop him.
That's true.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
He can hide behind me. Two of him could hide behind me.
I'm telling you guys.
Is that a Twinkie in your pocket, or is that just a Team Skeptic?
Is that Team Skeptic happy to see me? I'm telling you guys, put your head in those gloves. You'd be good to go.
Is Skeptic really like 5'5", 100 pounds? Like, there doesn't look like there's anything of that man.
Oh, well, maybe we'll have a picture of the two of us next to each other, and we can compare.
There we go.
It's probably all in his cock.
Well, I can't say much because I'm 5'10", 135 pounds, so I'm not exactly a big guy myself.
And there's a picture of the two of us on our Discord, on my Discord server when
It's
when
true.
he was down
He's
here.
a little bit bigger than me. Just a teensy bit.
But MC, on a serious side note, I would recommend not driving to the conference. I would recommend like parking somewhere else and using an Uber or something like that. That way they can't come track down your license plates.
Yeah, I will not have my vehicle there. So.
You don't need these guys to figure out where you guys live and your real names or whatnot.
No. My real name is
just a little security thing.
Yeah, Beelzebub Zavad. Whatever.
Which way are you going in from?
The ceiling.
No, I mean, like, what state you coming into Texas from?
Oh, I'm coming from Minnesota down to Galveston, and then we're staying in Galveston until Thursday morning.
You should get great gas mileage. I hear Texas is on a globe is down from Minnesota, so you just be going downhill the whole way.
Keep it neutral and just coast.
I think you should parachute in. I think you should be dropped in by airplane.
There you go.
But then he has to worry about the ether band.
Yep.
He has to worry about passing through the ether band.
I'll do a halo jump.
And I heard that if you hit those at the right time, at the exact right speed, you go back in time.
Or just put on roller skates and let gravity pull you south.
I think MC Toon is trying to end the hangout, so I think we're kind of
Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, the plane truth. Somebody said to him, "Send your best one to me so we can observe it with location, elevation, and distance." I'd love to see something we can compare to what the globe predicts, and just saying I don't need to measure is a cop out. So there you go.
Use my drone picture if you want.
Yep.
My live stream where I actually show the horizon dropping and catching Chicago when I was only above 1,100 feet.
With there you go.
That video on my alternate channel,
or just anything.
Yeah, or reality.
You can go back a couple nights over on Sean G's channel where Arabes pulled up one of Travis's photos of the Anacapa Islands, found a full picture of the Anacapa Islands, scaled the one down and put it behind the other one, phased it in, transitioned it in and out to where it got everything lined up, and the amount that's missing is exactly what the globe calls for.
Well, J Toll Media is great for globe evidence, so. Anyways, I think we're dragging on MC Toon.
Yep.
He's falling
All
asleep.
right, thanks everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.
All right. See ya.